Great Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome back. It's Annie and Elsten here with you. Your midday hang on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Annie Halbrun's here. I'm Craig Elsten, and Braden Suprenant is alongside as well, all together in our Odyssey studios overlooking Murphy Canyon here in San Diego, and getting ready for 4 hours of live local San Diego sports talk radio, taking you to Gwen and Chris, who will take you to Matt Scraby. Full broadcast day here on Election Day 2024. Good morning, Annie. How's it going?
Going great. Good morning, Craig, Braden, everybody listening. Hope everyone's having a great Tuesday. Yeah, good day out there today.
Okay. Braden, what's going on with you?
Not much. Got practice today, obviously, and then tomorrow we got college basketball all day at University of San Diego, but a beautiful day outside, and waiting for something to happen with Major League Baseball.
Yeah, well, we'll keep waiting. I think this is usually the week, the GM meetings, where they just kind of set the stage for some things. It's not impossible that we'll get a big-name free agent that'll jump out of the weeds and sign early. I certainly imagine that Blake Snell would love to sign early, if he could possibly sign early.
Yeah, learned his lesson.
Yeah. I think he's saying, chop, Scott. Let's go ahead and skip the hardball part and get to 3 teams, 1 room, a series of meetings. Let's find our parameters and let's jump in from there. The GM meetings do continue. Scottsdale, right? Scottsdale?
No. Wait, the GM meetings are in San Antonio.
San Antonio.
And then the winter meetings are in Texas.
There's always like
Dallas.
5 places that they go.
Yes.
5 places tops. There's
Something.
here. There's Scottsdale.
Yeah, they rotate the GM. The GM meetings are here a lot, but they rotate them. I thought they were here every year, but I was mistaken. So yeah, very few places that they go, but they are in San Antonio this year.
Well, basically the only thing that came out of yesterday, other than qualifying offers, we'll get into that. We'll get into the root news that's taken place in Major League Baseball as the day goes on. Gerrit Cole's crazy thing that kind of unfolded in the middle of our show. We can go back and look at that. That was a stub toe for
Yes.
Gerrit Cole without any question. Really, the only news that came out of the GM meetings was yesterday was the day they announced the MLB Executive of the Year, and it's not AJ Preller.
No.
And that stinks.
Yeah, it wasn't even A.J. Preller for the runner-up or the third. It was Brewers, right? What is his name?
Matt Arnold.
Matt Arnold. There we go. Brewers, Matt Arnold, and then J.J. Piccolo. Is that how you say his name? I don't know. Kansas City was next, and then Chris Antonetti of the Guardians finished third.
Wow. This tells me something pretty clearly, which is that A.J. Preller will never win this award. Because he outpointed everyone.
Never, but
He'll never win this award.
I don't think he'll ever win that award.
He'll never win this award.
Who votes on it?
The other guys.
Yeah, there's no way. He's never going to win the award.
Yeah.
He's never going to win the award.
Are you ever going to vote for somebody you don't like? Like, no, they never do that.
Yeah, it was the official award was voted on by the 30 clubs, each of which cast a vote prior to the start of the postseason.
Yeah, he was never going to win.
When A.J. Preller was presented with his most difficult scenario of his career on the year that he had to make the playoffs to save his ass, and he cut $100 million from the payroll, increased the win total from 82 to 93, won a playoff series. Everybody is running out of the Dodgers clubhouse these days to scream to the mountaintops off the top of the Hollywood sign, the Padres were the best team. Once we beat them, we knew we could do it.
Sounds a lot better than the guy that pisses off all his players.
Yeah. And
But
yet,
hey, what do I know?
that's the guy who gets MLB Executive of the Year, Matt Arnold, the guy who sent Corbin Burns packing. Oh, they listed that under his achievements, was sending Corbin Burns packing for a third baseman who was I.
Yeah, I'm like reading through his press release. 93-69 record. Milwaukee reached the postseason for the 6th time in the last 7 years. Milwaukee added homegrown rookie outfielder Jackson Churio, Rhys Hoskins, pitchers Jared Koenig and Brian Hudson, rookie infielder Joey Ortiz, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Second-year baseman Bryce Terang, Brewers' first-round pick in 2018, stole 50 bases. Milwaukee's bullpen remains a strength. So, I mean, you could do this with you could definitely do it with A.J. Preller. You could do the same kind of press release. And you could do that with quite a few probably GMs. But
Jackson Churio was a highly talented outfielder who came up and played outfield. Oh, that's interesting. How about the shortstop who came up and played outfield? Yeah. How about that? How about taking a chance on a kid who had never played outfield except for a handful of games and left? Put him in center field and said, go. Well, I guess that was kind of just an easy move.
Signed a guy for $1 million that was cut by the Rockies last year, and he was an all-star.
Yeah. Oh, but hey, listen, they signed Rhys Hoskins for a one-year, $20 million deal to hit 200. So obviously that's an executive of the year type move. Signing Jurickson Profar for $1 million to get a 380 on base percentage. Yeah. That's chump change. Anyone would have done that, obviously. But Rhys Hoskins, a $20 million deal. I mean, getting Frankie Montas to help lose a playoff series in the first round again to the New York Mets. I mean, obviously that was a huge move. It doesn't compare at all to, Tanner Scott or Jason Adam or Martin Perez or Luis Arraez or Dylan Cease or Michael King or Kyle Higashioka or Randy Vasquez. Actually, it completely compares. Nothing compares to the job A.J. Preller did this year.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that thought A.J. Preller was going to get this award around baseball, not just in San Diego.
At least a finalist. I mean,
right,
in the top
exactly.
3.
Yeah.
That's where Craig and are like, this guy's he's never going to win that award then.
He's never going to win. They've got it out for it. The only thing he can win is the whole thing. That's what A.J. Preller can win. And I hope he does. I sure hope he does. Because I think this year he showed us in San Diego what it means for the long-term stewardship of the franchise for him to remain in control. Were there years that A.J. Preller sent this team a little bit off course? Yes. And 2023, when he was given a blank checkbook, and just said, go sign everybody, he didn't build a complete team that year. But he learned his lesson. In 2024, he built the most complete team he had ever built in 10 years. He did the best job he's done in 10 years at the helm.
It's interesting because the Brewers' payroll in 2024 was $105 million, almost $106 million. I'm looking at, anyways, what I'm looking at USA Today. They all differ by a little bit. And then the Guardians was 28th in all of MLB at under $100 million, at $93 million. And the Royals, I'm just looking at, maybe they're rewarding teams that, the Royals were 21st in all of Major League Baseball, where the Padres were 14th. So in terms of spending. So perhaps they're looking at, hey, the least amount of money doing the most, but that's also like, what are we saying about the state of baseball if that's the case? You're essentially saying you're going to get rewarded if you spend as little money as possible, but make the playoffs and show that you can do something with your team. Because you could have done Brian Cashman. You could have done any of the World Series winners, the Dodgers, whatever. So maybe they're rewarding the very low spending teams. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm all for, like, these awards are like, Manny said it earlier this year. He's tired of these awards, and I am tired of these awards too. However, if a Padres player then does get an award or wins this or manager of the year, whatever, then you can't also turn and be like, well, this award means so much. It's kind of like you got to be on one side of the fence or the other.
I'm hearing you on that for
That's
sure.
Why I dislike awards.
Yeah, I don't dislike the awards too.
I dislike awards.
It's kind of a little eyewash.
I think
to
it's
me.
all eyewash.
Yeah.
I think professional athletes awards are really dumb. I don't like all the MVPs, all the BS. That's just for people to discuss. It's like people like us to discuss on the radio. But it's always why, like, I think the biggest eyewash thing for me every year is like voting into the Hall of Fame for every sport. I do not care at all. It's ridiculous. The awards, I think awards are dumb. I've gotten into debates with this with people on air before. I think they're dumb.
You could definitely make the case for A.J. Preller to win this award, and a good case for him to win this award, and probably maybe for a few other GMs around the league. But how they decide you're being, but it could just be like literally mostly a popularity contest if it's being voted on by the other teams,
which is most awards, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's going to be some type of bias no matter what you do with awards, whether it be like players voting for like Rookie of the Year. I mean, they could all be really chummy with a guy and hate a guy like, Manny Machado always gets a bad rap, right? So that's a biased way. Reporters is a biased way. Broadcast is everything that involves awards. There's going to be some type of bias with it. So it's all kind of like, well, we've always done it like this, so we should just give out awards. I just don't get them.
I appreciate the nihilism from both of you, but I look at this one in particular and say that baseball's bias is against the San Diego Padres. Not in a we're going to force you to lose a game kind of way, but in the way that we saw play out over the course of these playoffs. The Padres are that team that, how dare you get out of your lane? How dare you get out of your lane? First you spent too much. Now you're daring try and upset the apple cart in the NL West, trying to get in the way of our glorious lords and saviors, the Los Angeles Dodgers, with Ohtani at the front, the golden goose that's going to lead MLB to the promised land. Don't you dare get in your way. You're up 2-1. How about a sinister sling? How about a dancing peacock? How about a guy who's pulling the lever on the fire alarm and saying, who me? How about questioning the morality of the organization, which has been done over and over again? A.J. Preller's made some mistakes early in his career, ones that arguably he could have, should have, would have been fired for in different organizations. He wasn't. Yeah. He's had giant missteps along the way, blown seasons. 2021, blown season. He walked out of that scrap heap, and then he went all in 2022. 2023, the biggest payroll we've ever seen. Didn't work. A lot of people in Major League Baseball, I think you can back me on this, Annie. A lot of people in Major League Baseball were not happy to see the San Diego Padres in our market with our TV situation. Everyone knew what it was, spending the way that they were spending and getting out of line as opposed to the good little Brewers. Look at the Brewers. Look at the good Brewers. Why aren't you more like Milwaukee? Why don't you penny pinch all of your players? Why don't you take them to arbitration and rip them? Why don't you deny them club options that you've given them even though you're the best closer in the league? Why don't you diss your top player year after year after year? That's what the Brewers do. Look, they won 93 games with less money. You're sloppy. You're dirty. You're sneaky. You're not quite the guy. You're maybe a little sinister over there. We don't like the way you do business. I mean, good for you. Good for you. You won a series. That's how I see it, man. That's how I see it. I see it as baseball doesn't like this guy.
Well, I think what's good for Preller is he doesn't care. He doesn't care. You know what I mean? He likes to get in people's heads, and he likes the whole kind of living rent free and living on the wild side and living on the edge and any other song that I can think of title right here. But he likes that whole thing, and so they'll keep doing what they're doing over there in Padre Land for the most part. But yeah, it's definitely a play by the rules kind of mentality, or play by the don't upset the apple cart sort of kind of. Especially in baseball. In baseball, there is definitely a get in line kind of mentality, in terms of how things are done or whatnot. But certainly, look, if the Padres are able to continue to have success, and it's like at that point, you can't look at them and say, they'll show by action is what I'm trying to say. Like they're going to show by action that what they did was, for the right reasons, and they were able to find success with it. And so I think it's hard to, still the hard part with the Padres is they still haven't won a championship. So it's hard to kind of like, I guess say that we're the big, team that everybody's looking at like, oh my God, how could you do all this? Because the Padres still don't have a championship. They don't have a World Series, So I think, look, yeah, as far as like the small market and trying to make a different lane for themselves inside of a medium-sized market, hey, the Padres are doing it. And they're competing with some of these bigger teams. And that's kind of, I think, where they got to keep their focus is how do we keep this going?
Yeah, if the Padres had won a championship, everyone would fall in line. would recognize the lane as being a virtuous lane and would describe them as trailblazers for having created the lane, because everyone falls in behind the champion. And in national media especially. Everyone's going to fall in behind because they don't want to stand out there on the cold in the rain and go, we didn't like this one. So that's, it's to the victor goes the spoils is the short version of that. I will fully admit that minute and a half, rant, it's tribalistic. I get it. It's regional. It's like, this is our group. We're attacked. We circle the wagons. But I'm sorry, objectively, A.J. Preller did a better job than Chris Antonetti. Is that who? Chris Antonetti, who left his really talented Guardians team without a starting pitching staff that he could even put on the field in the playoffs. They had to win every game a bullpen game. Every game they started going 3 innings, like Ben Lively and friends trying to win. Give me a break. Matt Arnold, what do? They won the weakest division with the same number of games as the Padres, and they lost to the Mets. Congrats. You were amazing. J.J. Piccolo, okay. Yeah, you guys won 56 games the year before. And then your owner, in the middle of a stadium drive, opened up the purse strings, let you go get Seth Lugo, let you go get Michael Wacha, let you make some moves. You made some good moves. Good on you, man. You deserve a spot in the top 3. Good on you. Who did more than A.J. Preller? No one even came close. No one even came close objectively. So that's why I go on the tribalistic rant, because I see that and I just say, okay, as you said, the only thing that's left is to win the damn thing. And you're going to do it every year. Every year you're going to do it knowing that your rival to the north just got another $500 million more than you. Every year. But there's still a way, and you got to find a way.
Yeah, and it's good because for the Padres, I think that they're creating an environment where players want to come. So if they're able to get some of these contracts done, this San Diego was a place in the past where you used to have to convince someone to come to San Diego because they knew they weren't going to be on a very competitive team. Like, yeah, you want to come because it's a beautiful place and your wife likes it and great, blah, blah, blah. But now you can actually sell players on the fact that not only is it beautiful and you're going to love living here and your wife's going to be happy and so are your kids, but also this team has a chance to win year in and year out. And it's a lot, I think, of an easier sell for A.J. Preller and that group to get guys to want to come to San Diego. And then they're able to dish out some of those contracts many times that they've been able to in the last few years. So I think that you're getting more of at least, where it counts, like players and agents and whatever, like you're getting more of a respect factor for the Padres. These awards, I'm with you. It sucks. I agree. A.J. Preller definitely could have won, should have won, had a chance to win or should have at least been considered. I'm looking at so this award began in 2018. Okay, here's your winners. Billy Beane won it for the first year. Eric Neander of the Rays in 2019. Andrew Friedman of the Dodgers. Of course, the Dodgers have to win it 1 year. 2020, okay. Farhan Zaidi of the Giants in 2021. He's not even there anymore.
Right.
Chris Antonetti already won it of the Guardians in 2022. And Mike Elias of the Orioles in 2023. So
there's one-time Andrew Friedman, and every single other one is a
kind of a low payroll sort of.
Except for the Giants, because look at you, Giants, you jumped out of your lane and you actually won one more game than the Dodgers that year. Time for you to get Executive of the Year, Farhan. Gone 3 years later, never got better than 81 wins any other year of his tenure as GM. Hey, look, fickle award, but it's just never going to go to A.J. Preller.
But A.J. Preller did do a tremendous job this season. I think that's more your point.
My point.
He absolutely deserved to have the flowers, get the flowers for the job that he did this year.
If he's not going to win this one, this is walking into the science fair, and one person has a 4-foot volcano, like with villagers running and palm trees on fire, and it's just brilliant. And then 6 other people have dioramas with stick figures. And they're like, yeah, that one, though, I don't know. Is the lava red enough? Look at what he did with those stick figures over there. That's really sharp. You know what? Little Maddie, you win first place. And you know what, Chris and JJ, you get second and third. Volcano, Nice try, buddy. Next time, maybe a little less of the baking powder over there, pal. That's how it looks like to me. It's like if you're not going to win with that one, if you're not going to win with the 4-foot volcano with the screaming villagers, then forget it. Just forget about it. Yeah. Just try and win. Just try and win the whole damn thing. Win the Commissioner's Trophy, because the rest of those plaudits, they're not coming your way, man. And as you said, he doesn't give a hoot. He's finding the next 13-year-old in the Dominican right now.
Yeah, hopefully 13 and not 17. But yeah, if anything, it kind of probably puts more of a chip on his shoulder and that front office shoulder. Okay, all right, let's show you what we can do this year.
Padres have to be creative to win. Later in the show, we'll continue our performance reviews for 2024, looking at the second base position, which means we're going to look at Xander Bogaerts in depth coming up at 11 o'clock. When we come back, Gerrit Cole plays poker and realizes that folding is something you sometimes do in the game. Annie and Elsten continuing to talk baseball with you. We go till 2 o'clock today, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Welcome back, everybody. 10:27 on Tuesday. Annie and Elsten back with you. Went a little long on the first segment. Clock Integrity Tuesday. Never been a thing.
No, we only focus on Mondays and Fridays.
Fridays, right.
Well, we did great on Monday. We really did quite well on Monday.
Came out of the gate strong.
Today,
Starts the downhill slow.
Yeah, went 3 and out, had to punt. It's all right.
Straight up. Yeah. Immediate turnover.
Not as great of a drive as the last drive. Didn't end in points.
Facing a short field here, otherwise
Yeah.
known as a short segment.
By the time we get to Thursday, we're going to need points out of this drive.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
Classic
I think that's,
cliche.
I think that's important. I agree.
All 50-year-old men say before every drive. We need 6 out of this. Yeah, we do.
Yes.
We need 6 out every drive there, buddy.
Well, yesterday during the program, we talked about Gerrit Cole, who decided to play a game of high-stakes poker with the New York Yankees.
He did.
Coming off of,
He fought the law, and the law won.
he effed around, he found out.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, for sure, because Cole, thinking that he is an indispensable part of the New York Yankees, decided, and by the way, with his little Saruman on his shoulder there, Scott Boras, opt out, force their hand, they'll pay you more. He decided to opt out over the weekend.
And Jafar listening to the parrot on his shoulder.
Seriously, triggering a 48-hour period in which the Yankees either could let him go to free agency or could tack on another year and $36 million to his contract and pay him for his age 39 season coming up 5 years from now. And the Yankees, as we discussed on the program yesterday, woke up yesterday and went, bright new day. Sun is shining. Birds are chirping. We could actually not pay Gerrit Cole anything the next 5 years. We could actually look at this contract that we knew was filled with downside risk on the back end of it and just eliminate all that. Get rid of it all. Replace it with, maybe Corbin Burns, who's 4 years younger. Throw some of that money Soto's way. We can solve some of our problems. We can pivot while remaining competitive. Hey, Gerrit, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you, buddy. See you later. And what did Gerrit Cole do before his deadline? He put his tail between his legs and just, can I re-opt back in? That opt-out, it's got a thing where I can opt back in too, doesn't it? Oh, it does? Okay, good. I opt back in.
He pulled a George Costanza. Guy quit his job, then showed up the next day, said he was just kidding.
Yeah.
It's literally an episode from Seinfeld. He poured a George Costanza. Oh, yeah, I'm about that. I was kidding.
Kidding.
Kidding. After he basically, told everybody to shove it on his way out, he quit his job and then showed up the next day because he realized that they had nothing else and just kidding.
And so now he has to take the corporate bullet, too, of being across the desk as Brian Cashman goes, well, Gerrit, we've decided because you've had so many contributions to the Yankees that we will, in fact, honor the remainder of your contract and allow you to come back at the deals we had already negotiated in fair terms with you and your agent 5 years ago. We'll go ahead and do that for you out of your service to the New York Yankees and to the Pinstripes, leaving him now emasculated amongst everything else. As he's sitting there, geez, I'm so sorry, boss. I'll come back and try and do better next time. Unbelievable. I haven't seen a slam dunk like this in MLB negotiations in quite some time.
Live look at Gerrit Cole saying he opts out of his contract.
Yeah. Guess what? I opt out.
Live look at Gerrit Cole showing up the next day. I'm still here.
Yeah, he's lucky that the Yankees were willing to continue those conversations because when we left it yesterday too, it seemed like they were having extension talks or there was going to be some extension talks in the future, and Brian Cashman shut that down. He there's no extension talks right now. We just went back to the contract that we had, and I love how they called it. They said they had some, quote, healthy dialogue. Both parties had some healthy dialogue. But look, Brian Cashman told reporters yesterday, we were not comfortable giving that extra $36 million in that extra year. Also, because of those arm issues that he had at the beginning of the season, that was communicated to Scott Boras, which Did you think they forgot?
Yeah.
Did you think they forgot about those?
Crazy.
And then Scott Boras and his partner or his client luckily did not also say, hey, let's go test. Fine then. Fine. Forget about you guys. Luckily, Gerrit Cole said in this instance, I want to stay with the Yankees. Let's just get this done. Let's go back to what we had. And the Yankees said, hey, we want to keep you. That's fine. Let's do it. Because that could have been their ability to get out, right? So, yeah, what a start to Scott Boras. If the rest of the offseason is going to be like this for Scott Boras, we are in for an entertaining ride. Or we'll see if Scott Boras tested the waters a little here and said, you know what? I got to be a little more careful going forward.
I mean, has he lost his Midas touch? Scott Boras, for how many years have we had to do the tip the cap to this guy who's, I think the best thing you could say about him is that he is an amoral presence within the baseball world. Without throwing a bunch of aspersions his way, which I probably have done many times, depending on my mood. At best, he's an amoral, avaristic character. He's there for the bottom dollar. He's there.
He's really good at his job, and his job is getting his players paid as much money as humanly possible.
But that's my question. How good is he really at his job today in 2024?
I think the last couple of years, I think a lot of teams are just basically going, we don't value your player as much as you value said player. And I think a lot of teams right now are understanding that paying somebody $700 million does not make financial sense in the future. It's the market, right? It's the end of the market. Everybody thinks the market for everything is always going to go up. It's not always going to go up. And eventually, teams or markets, like you talk about real estate and everything like that, it balances itself out because people aren't willing to pay for what said entity wants, right? And then their price goes down, and there's a recycle of everything when it comes to how valuable everybody is. So to think that Juan Soto potentially will get more money than Shohei Ohtani, I think Shohei Ohtani is the top right now, and I think after that it's just going to start coming back down because why would anybody pay a player more than what Shohei Ohtani is getting paid? It doesn't make any sense. So the last couple of years for Scott Boras, I just think he has been a little bit too valued his players a little bit too high, and the rest of the league is setting the market against that.
Well, look, last year, top client, Blake Snell, wound up not getting anywhere near what he wanted to get. Jordan Montgomery, not getting anywhere near what he wanted to get. Both these guys are back on the market. Right? Montgomery opted in, but the Diamondbacks are looking to trade him. Matt Chapman wound up signing a much smaller deal. He renegotiated. He did that by working directly with Buster Posey and cutting Scott Boras out of the deal. Straight up, that's how it played. Bellinger wound up getting same team, basically same rate to go back to Chicago. He opted in instead of going through the rigmarole again with Scott Boras this year. His hit rate has been pretty dang low. And, of course, he's going to get paid on Juan Soto. Well, congratulations. It's like, I don't know, being asked to sell oil in Texas. It's like you've been given the ultimate commodity in Juan Soto. Of course he's going to get a huge deal, but is he really doing a great job for all of his clients? I think that maybe he's lost his touch a little bit.
Depending on who you talk to, even with Blake going through what he went through last year, he was a big advocate of Scott Boras, but Jordan Montgomery was not, right? For every Jerks and Profar, there's someone who still is like a Ha-Seong Kim, who's like, let's go over here or whatever. So I think it just depends on who you talk to. I think Scott Boras still lives in the heyday where you'll hear him say these quotes actually a lot, where he comes from the mentality of teams should spend more money. And I don't want to hear about your TV deals. And I don't want to hear about how times are hard. I know you have money. Spend the money. Put it on the players. So there's a little part, if you can look at Scott Boras from a different angle, of he is actually wanting what I think a lot of fans want, which is for teams to spend more money, right? But in terms of how he views it, that's not always how it is. Like Braden was just saying, I mean, the tides have changed in Major League Baseball, whether it's true or not, whether owners are lying about it or not, whether they just want to save money or not, they're going to hang their hat on certain things, certain reasons why they're not going to spend as much money, or they might, we can forecast that could be coming in the future. So yeah, I think Scott Boras, just depends on who you talk to, depends on obviously who got a deal, but I would agree. I think he's overvaluing the market and his players.
You are worth what somebody is willing. Your value is what somebody is willing to pay.
Yeah.
And if teams are not willing to pay the numbers that Scott Boras has in mind, they've been playing. And the thing is teams, instead of caving to Boras, are now starting to call him on the bluff and go find it somewhere else. Go ahead. They're like they're learning some of the antics and the optics that Boras does to try to get more money for his client. A lot of teams are more savvy, and they don't panic buy on free agents like they used to, I think, is another factor.
And Scott Boras wants to play his cards, and the cards are not always going other people are walking away from the table. Like, he's still at the table, and he's like, I'm going to keep you guys. No, don't worry. Spring training, someone's going to sign you. Someone's going to sign you. No, yeah, exactly. Like those teams are already gone. They're like, we don't want to deal with this, So
then they call the bluff on the
right.
Well, your biggest rival just offered this. It's like, no, they didn't.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
We get John Heyman's tweets too. Don't worry, pal.
That's right.
In our next segment, we'll turn from Major League Baseball general managers to the NFL. It is trade deadline day in the National Football League. Several moves have been made. Trades are now interesting. This used to be nothing happened at the NFL trade deadline.
This is like the Chargers got Chris Chambers one year. That was like the only. You're like,
right.
Oh, I guess there's a trade deadline. I didn't even realize.
Oh, you're allowed to get players?
I didn't know you're allowed to trade in the NFL. That was like how it was, and now teams are making a lot of moves.
Teams are making moves. Our beloved Lions made a move.
They made the move that you wanted them to do.
They literally did that
Defensive line help.
I'm very excited. We'll talk about that and give you the latest information on the deals made at NFL trade deadline next on Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Welcome back, everybody. Annie and Elsten here with you. Your midday hang on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. It is 10:44. We roll till 2 o'clock. Gwen and Chris will be in at that time. All right, we talked baseball first 2 seconds. We'll talk baseball our next couple segments as well. But let's split off to the National Football League.
Excuse for the music.
I know, anytime, right? Just say... He's just waiting there with the button.
NFL.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
hovering
March
over the
Madness.
button. Yeah.
Before he set up the StreamYard, he made sure the music was there.
Right.
Hey, college basketball started yesterday.
That's a good point. Did you... you're going to throw me off for a second, but
I
did
didn't
you
use it
see
yesterday.
that a fan base stormed the court last night?
I didn't.
No.
Yeah. University of Central Florida
Oh yeah, UCF.
beat Texas A&M.
That's a big win for Central
And
Florida.
they decided we're going to start this season off with a bang.
Yeah. 13th ranked Texas A&M.
UCF was projected to come in second to last in the Big 12.
64-61 win.
All right. It's
Storm
a good
the
win.
court.
Good win.
Storm the court. First game. It's your first game.
It's a
bold
it's not
move,
a bad
but
it's not a bad win though. Like
All downhill from here.
they were just excited. They were
they
happy.
were I mean, UCF
Game one, storm the court.
UCF got picked, I think, second to last in the Big 12, which is the best conference in basketball. And A&M is expected to win the SEC, and you beat them at home by 3. You're
And
just
you're
not
in
used to
college,
you're
and
not
you're
used to
having
seeing
fun.
this though, Craig, because you never see big matchups in the week 1. It's usually bye games.
Well, that's
Yeah.
true.
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
come on. Storm the court.
There would be no other case last night for a court storming.
Right.
No other ranked
They are
team
the
won.
only ones that were getting any attention on this, right?
They were the
because they were
only-
the only big matchup.
They were the only school last night that hosted a ranked team that wasn't ranked themselves. Every other ranked team was playing a home game. UCF hosted A&M. The only other ranked matchup was Gonzaga and Baylor. Gonzaga was the favorite, so
Maybe they were like, this will be our only opportunity to storm the court.
That's what I'm feeling. It's kind of a
I
tacit
can't
admission.
hate on that.
But Craig,
You
like
guys kind of stink. I mean,
if this game happened in January,
then I'd be okay with it.
nobody would have any idea. But it's
I like-
it's
start
an
off the season
unusual
with,
matchup in the first game of the because
Yeah.
usually early games matchups like this are played at like in Atlantis or at
Right.
like in Vegas or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. At home, and I think it's worth it. Especially since the Big 12 should have
It's
swept
the
yesterday.
first game. Act like you're going to be good.
But they're
you
not
know?
supposed to be
I think
good.
I think
That's
they're
what
clear
I'm
they're not
saying.
gonna
It's
be
kind of a
good.
slap in the face. It's like a
They're
backhanded
unranked.
compliment.
They're unranked. If they were ranked, I would.
Holy
kinda
cow,
agree
you
with
actually won a game? Woo!
I mean,
They were
any
ranked.
We're
reason
gonna
to
win it all.
celebrate, right?
If they
Like,
were
you're-
ranked, I would say I would be on your side, but they're not. So
13th ranked. I mean, you didn't beat number 1. You know, I mean, it's the first game. Nobody knows anything.
They had a lot of energy and
They might
emotion.
go
They had to get
28
out.
and 4. For all we know, they might go 28 and 4 this year. Maybe they'll go 4 and 28. At which point, if they were 2 and 28 and then beat 13th ranked Texas A&M, I'd say storm the court, go crazy. You know your team's terrible.
what if this
it's in
happened?
context.
What if this happened next week?
And they're like 0 and 2 or something? I mean,
It's just because it's the first game. It's
Yeah,
throwing
the
you off.
first-
because
the
there's-
first
but
game,
there's
it's-
never
it's-
matchups
yeah.
like this in the first week.
yeah, first game. It's just weird to me.
I'm just
like-
glad they're into it and they're not like apathetic and don't care.
Yeah. Well, hang on, Adam in the chat. If UCSD wins and storms the court, they're playing at Viejas.
No, you could do that.
What are they used with 20 UCSD Triton fans? Are gonna
Washington
go,
State did that at Washington in football a couple years ago. They stormed the field with a win on the road. That's the ultimate. That's the ultimate diss is storming the field or court on the road. That's some serious mojo right there.
Dude, the way UCSD is going to storm the court is in lab coats taking samples. Like they're gonna
Whoa.
they're gonna run a survey
What are
out
they
there.
taking
You know,
samples of?
yeah, maybe they're figuring stuff out, bacteria levels.
They would do it. They would do it in a very proper way.
I don't think so.
They'd walk out and wave.
They're like, hey,
Hi,
what are we doing
guys.
out here? Are we allowed to be out here? Are we
Yeah, they
supposed
come
to
out
be
there,
here?
right? They do that, and then the security guard would be like, "You need to move over here," and they'd be like, "Okay, they'll just move over there," you know?
Yeah.
Listen, as a UCSD alum, if 20 UCSD fans stormed the court of Viejas, I would be deeply embarrassed.
They do have passionate fans.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
They do have passionate fans at UCSD.
Sure.
Shaq was at TCU's game last night. His son plays for Florida A&M. Son's not very good. Son's not like
quite
Shaq.
there.
Not as good.
No dream of a side-by-side appearance on Inside the NBA,
Probably. Well, I don't know. Maybe if he's got a personality, that would totally work out. But 105-59
so
victory
hard
for the Frogs last
to
night.
be the son or kid of someone who was just
It's funny
iconic,
It's funny you bring that up. That's literally the question that happened after I said that to my buddies last night at softball. Was literally what you just said.
It's got to be hard.
And then somebody goes, "Well, how many sons have been better than their dads?"
Right. How many?
I can name a couple.
Ken Griffey Jr.
Fernando Tatis Jr.
Mm-hmm.
There's two right there.
As like in baseball, especially Barry Bonds.
Yeah. And Bobby was good.
I mean,
Barry was better.
We've listed a lot of baseball players, though. I don't know about basketball,
right.
but still, it is possible.
Football, any kind of, I don't know.
Peyton and Eli are better than Arch.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
But their kids aren't any better than them, right? Didn't one of their kids play or something?
Well, Archie Manning is not one of their kids. That's
No.
the other Manning, the receiver Manning.
Cooper's
His son? Cooper's son.
Oh,
I thought they called him
track
Cooper.
of the Mannings.
Good old
Yeah.
Cooper.
Peyton.
Peyton, Cooper.
Peyton, Cooper.
Eli.
Yeah. I'm sure I can list a couple other NFL players, too, that are probably better than their dads.
All right. We've got 4 minutes left. Let's update a little bit on the trade deadline. Here's one that just happened. The Pittsburgh Steelers have picked up Mike Williams from the Jets. I remember we were talking just yesterday, I think, about maybe the Chargers trying to get Steph Curry.
Yeah,
Curry.
Steph
That's
Curry
a very
was
good
a
one.
good
Very
one,
good
yeah.
one. Very good one. 2025 fifth-round pick. Okay. Whatever.
It's a good move for the Steelers.
Sure.
Good
Jets,
move.
Mike Williams needed to get out of New York.
He needed to get out of
He's
there.
not one of
Right.
he's not one of Rodgers' group. I can't wait for Randall Cobb to say he's coming out of retirement.
It wasn't a good situation they're in.
That's a
the
terrible
Jets.
situation. The Jets. Now he's got to deal with the king of eyewash in Russell Wilson. But aside from that, a lot better situation because Mike Tomlin's a great football coach, runs a great organization over there.
Zadarius Smith, who has 5 sacks for the Browns, coming over to the Lions.
Bit of need.
In exchange
Hutchinson?
for a 5th rounder next year, a 6th rounder the year after. They pick up a 7th rounder in the deal, but still Smith fortifies the pass rush for the Lions, adds a little bit more zest to that group going down the stretch, and of course,
a little more rawr.
a little more bite.
There you go.
And Hutchinson, they're talking about maybe he could come back at some point in the playoffs.
They make the
but,
Super Bowl or something.
yeah, whatever.
If he's there, great. If not, okay.
Yeah, but this was a need for when they get to the inevitable San Francisco game in the playoffs. When they get to the inevitable actual contender,
This was your opportunity.
you need a little bit more bite on the rush, and they've got it now.
Best team in the NFC got better.
They did.
One
By
of the
way,
worst teams in the NFC got worse.
Who's
trading for Jonathan Mingo? Dallas
Oh
Cowboys.
yes, the Cowboys.
They
Why
traded
not?
I do not get what the Cowboys are doing.
They traded a 4th and a 7th round pick in next year's draft for Jonathan Mingo in a year that the season is already over for the Cowboys. They're going to miss Dak for the next 3
Dak's
weeks.
gone, right?
Right. I mean, so Cooper Rush is not, he's actually done a really good job as a backup when Dak's been hurt, but you're 3-5, you're way out of first place in the NFC East. You haven't really competed that much. What is adding Jonathan Mingo, who's not even that great of a receiver, going to do? And you gave up more for Jonathan Mingo than you received for Amari Cooper when you traded Amari Cooper.
The Cowboys just need to stay in the headlines, they feel like they have to do something.
I mean, they decided to buy from a team that only has one more loss than they do, coming off a win last week against New Orleans. With that trade, the Panthers now have 9 picks in the 2025 draft. A 1st, a 2nd, a 3rd, 2 4ths, 3 5th round picks, and a 7th round pick. It's not the picks. It's what you do with the picks. But, hey, looking good for Carolina to kind of restock and reload.
Yeah, unless they pick the wrong guys over and over, just like you said. In which case they just
pick Shadur Sanders to be their quarterback.
I don't know. Is that going to be a bad idea?
I don't know. You got to deal with the world's largest helicopter parent.
And then they announced that Dion is now taking the job as offensive coordinator.
You know what?
For the Charlotte Panthers.
I wouldn't be surprised if they fired their head coach and all of a sudden, hey, Dion's the new head coach of the Carolina Panthers. First order of business.
Prime.
Drafting Shador and his other son, Travis Hunter. Going to be there forever.
Oh, boy.
Here's just a wild thought I've had. Call this the Scraby corollary. I think the Lions are going to play the 49ers in the NFC Championship game again.
I could see that.
I think that strictly depends on how quick McCaffrey gets up to speed.
Yes, I get it.
Which he's been practicing this week.
Here are the teams in between the Lions and the Niners in the power rankings in the NFC. The Commanders.
I think they're overrated.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at their
they're gonna
schedule
fall
like
off
we
at
did
some
with the
point.
Chargers yesterday,
Yeah.
you'd realize that they're not.
Rookie quarterback. Rookie
Who's been
quarterback in the
banged up
Can't go the
already.
distance.
Rookie quarterback that runs that gets banged up a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Vikings.
The NFL's less likely for like magic, you know?
Yeah.
It
The
doesn't
Packers.
some magic.
It's a war of attrition.
The
Right.
Eagles. The Falcons.
I
The
don't think-
Cardinals. I mean, I think the
don't-
Niners, McCaffrey back. Look at this. Here's me reading ESPN. Niners historically 43-18 after their bye week under Mike Shanahan. So they get better after the bye week. They get McCaffrey back after the bye week. They take care of business in the West.
Only team in the NFC West that has a positive point differential.
So there's my bold prediction. Back with baseball next. Hour number 2 of Annie and Elsten here with you. 11 a.m. is the time. Welcome back, everybody. It's your midday hang. Annie Heilbrunn, Craig Elsten, Braden Soprano with you in our Odyssey studios. Coming to you live on 97.3 FM radio. We are broadcasting live on the Odyssey app, streaming worldwide. You could be listening to us in England right now. But maybe you're doing it as a podcast. I think we got a tweet recently from a British
Nick
listener who says, yep, you're now, my podcast hang.
He listens to us the next day because he can have breakfast and listen. So he listens to the podcast. So hello, Nick. Thank you for having breakfast from England.
Appreciate you listening on your podcast platform, wherever you might be. Hey, whatever podcast platform you're on, if you are happening to listen to the podcast, how about a little 5-star review?
Yeah.
Maybe a little quick written review.
That's I don't know why it sparked my memory. I got to tell you this horror Airbnb story at some point during the show that happened last night to my buddy.
No better time than the present, I say.
My buddy, his girlfriend, and my buddy's dad went out to Pennsylvania again to watch Penn State. So they watched Penn State, Ohio State this weekend. They're in College Station. Or
already
College
in a bad mood.
College, whatever it's called. College Park.
Happy Valley
College Park. So they were going to leave this morning, right? So last night out in Penn State, they went to the basketball game. They get back to their Airbnb. And like on Air, have you guys stayed in an Airbnb before?
Oh, yeah.
I have, but not recently.
But it's like they don't give you really keys, right?
Correct.
It's like a padlock.
Keypad.
Yes.
Little keypad thing with a code. They change the code every time. Makes it easy. The keypad ran out of battery.
This sounds like Crisello yesterday.
Locked them out of their house.
Uh-oh.
For multiple hours. Late last night.
This happened to us on our trip in July.
Yeah, late last night.
You got locked out too?
Yes.
Your keypad ran out of battery?
Yes. Well,
what is going on?
No, I'm not kidding. Well, it was the hottest day in Reading.
No.
It was our last day there. It was the
Malfunction
hottest day in
system.
Reading. We got back to the Airbnb in the mid-afternoon, like around 3.
Ready to go inside, get some cool air.
Yes, we had visited the dam, whatever. We had been, we had done some stuff. We had gone to a cave, but it was literally like 117 degrees or something. And then we got there, and it wasn't the battery; it was something else.
But the keypad didn't work.
It would go, and then nothing would happen. And it was also the 4th of July, as a matter of fact. So nobody was working. And had to contact the, poor person who runs the house, and they come out, and then they have to find a key person, and they're struggling to find a locksmith. And our family wound up literally walking around a Target for 2 hours and then walking around a mall for like 3 hours.
And I bet you didn't get any money back on that.
No, they did leave us a little gift card for a place in Reading.
That's nice.
Well, yeah, but we were leaving the next morning. So I went that morning and got us food from that place. And,
So anyway, he gets back at 10 o'clock at night.
That's crazy.
And the keypad doesn't work because it runs out of battery. They try to get a hold of the guy that owns the place. Silence, nothing. He's outside for multiple hours, so they decide to go get food or whatever and come back. They were on the phone with Airbnb for 3 hours trying to figure out how to get into this place. And all of those jobs are outsourced, so it's people that aren't even in this country trying to explain
And it's hard to get a hold of Airbnb in general. That's the whole
you gotta
horror
work with
stories
your host.
with Airbnb.
It's gotta
The host
you gotta
would,
work with the host.
he just disappeared. He just was not, and all their stuff's in the Airbnb. They have a flight, Tuesday morning, whatever. And so they end up having to go and stay at a hotel, and Airbnb is like, we'll give you $200 to stay at a hotel.
No way.
That's all they said. And so they finally get to the Airbnb
Nightmare.
this morning at 7:15 in the morning, and the guy that owns the place is just outside planting trees.
Just like,
Had
hey,
no
guys.
idea. Yeah, it's like, hey, what's up? Rough. And so my buddy had to cancel his flight. Cost him 30,000 points to change his flight. Instead of flying home like when he wanted to, he has to fly in the middle seat for the long haul of Philadelphia to San Diego, just fuming about the Airbnb, and the Airbnb is like, "Yep, sorry, here's $200 to stay at a hotel." Yeah.
There's so many horror stories about Airbnb. Not to mention now that they're allowed to have cameras in there watching you.
Yeah, exactly.
All the time.
Making sure that you're not messing with their
well,
stuff.
and like or whatever else they want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
What's this? Cameras? What?
The Airbnb.
They say it's because exactly.
Security.
They want to make sure security, but they can pretty much watch you do anything
The
at
whole
any
time.
time. Yeah, and
I think the fun nostalgia, the fun like kind of environment of renting a house for a weekend and pretending like you live in these places because it was cheaper than a hotel. I think it's worn off to the point where it's like it's so expensive.
Still cheaper than a hotel.
All the cleaner. I looked at the trip this weekend. I was thinking about staying at Airbnb. It was the Airbnb was like almost thousands of dollars per night, and the hotels were like $250.
Maybe
nice
it benefits you more if you have like a bigger family or a bigger
it benefits
group.
you
have
if you want to
dogs
like
going,
hang
whatever.
out and stuff,
Yeah,
right?
Well, I mean, 100%.
I'm
Like
a
for our
hotel
family,
girl, so I get you.
Yeah.
But it's like, all right, well, if they're gonna have all the cameras there, and I'm gonna have to do all the cleaning of the entire place,
Yeah, then you have to pay the
and
cleaning
who knows
fee,
if I get
right?
locked out of my place, I can't go down to the front desk at these places, and you're not gonna get a refund. That's rough. It's a rough way to go.
That's just
Interesting.
frustrating. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
My buddy's like, well, I can't vote now today because I'm not gonna make it in time.
Okay, so I just wanted to.
no.
Okay, so
Hilarious.
So it's something that can happen at an Airbnb. It's not mandated. There's not cameras in every Airbnb house.
They're legally allowed.
They're
to.
allowed to.
Well, yeah, but
They're
yeah, no,
allowed
you
to.
don't know. I mean, well, they don't have to have them. No,
Okay.
they don't have to be there.
So it's not. Yeah, it's not like every single time you walk in, you're just on Big Brother. Necessarily.
I bet you Craig is starting some
I bet
Big Brothers
you're
that are
in
aired on
more-
YouTube in
I
different
bet
places
you're in
that
more
he
videos
understands.
than you know.
Who knows?
James
I
is
don't
getting
know.
voted off multiple times by Craig.
Oh, look at that. Chad says now they changed that rule. So okay.
Oh, did they?
They
okay,
should.
Andy. Thank you, Andy. Andy in the chat says Airbnb doesn't allow camera inside. But how do you really know?
Well, how do you know
really
about
know
anything?
that there's not
That's
a little
like
camera
hotels,
inside the
too,
little belly button of the teddy bear or whatever? And
Wait a minute.
It's just
Where's this
watching
going?
ya,
Where's
you
this
know?
going?
Is this an episode of The Americans?
Where is this going?
all right, well,
It's the
Andy
same-
does say that they can only be outside, so I retract my indoor camera
It's the
statement.
same thing with hotels, though, right?
Yeah.
You got to do
right.
sweeps.
I
You got to
mean,
do sweeps around the house. It's
listen.
like,
Yeah,
why
you
is
could
that?
also have it in a hotel, sure.
What is
yeah.
that photo? What is that picture frame blinking?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Where's that red light coming
Exactly.
from?
Where's the red? And they do the same thing in the hotel. Why is there a red light in the? Is that the? Is that the carbon monoxide machine, or is that something else?
Yeah, listen.
Rough night for Mike.
I'm
in,
not.
College
I've
Park.
got no affiliation with the website or the app. I've just used it a lot, and I mean, that was about the one problem I had was this summer with the lock that one day.
For all the horror stories, I meet people who use it all the time and love it. So I don't know.
I've
but
never had a problem with my
yeah.
Airbnb stays.
There's
but
definitely
at
a
the
lot
same
of
time,
controversy in San Diego over like whether you can have
and
Airbnbs
I get it,
and all
I get
that.
the politics
and so,
behind it and all of that. You know, I mean,
but they're popular, no doubt about it. They're a popular
short-term
thing.
vacation rental guidance and oversight.
Probably depends
et
on
cetera.
your like host too, right? Like and
Yeah,
how
well, I've had great hosts.
right.
I mean,
how great
honestly,
your host is.
I've had great hosts. In each of our family vacations the last 3-4 years, we've had a hub Airbnb, you know, outside a national park that we stayed at, and it's been great every time.
It is crazy what Tony says in the chat. Uber owns no cars. Airbnb owns no property. DoorDash owns no restaurants. We just pay for the use of the
you're paying for a guy's
app
idea
and
that
I
created the
know
app.
it's crazy
For
when you think
service.
about that. And how think about that 20, especially for us, 20, 30 years ago, if it was like, oh, we'll have someone drive us around.
Oh, the
What?
first time, the
it
first
would be
time I
like,
heard
are
of Uber,
you nuts?
first time I heard of Uber,
We'll have someone drive to bring us food. Are you
doesn't-
crazy? That idea would never work.
the first
And
time
now
I
they're
heard
rich.
of Uber, it's even
Follow
scarier.
your dreams, kids.
It's even scary. Like we're in Huntington Beach during the 4th of July, and this is like I'm still in high school. Like when this happened, and you know the parking situation's rough, right? I mean, have you ever been to Huntington Beach for the 4th of July? Is like a gigantic party
Right,
all over
right.
town. There's nowhere to park and stuff like that. We were just happened to stay up there for the weekend, and my cousins were up there for some reason, and you know they were texting my mom or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, we'll meet you down there," and so they get dropped off. And my dad's like talking to my cousin Mike, who has his family with his 2 kids that at the time were in like elementary school. And he's like, well, how did you get down here so fast? Or like, where'd you park? Oh, well, we parked outside and then we got dropped off by an Uber.
Yeah.
And my dad's like, a what? He's like, an Uber. Yeah, some guy in a truck picked us up. And he was like, Mike, you put your family in a stranger's truck that you found on an app and he just dropped you off? Are you out of your mind? And he was like, nah, it's called Uber. Like, so people like drive around and give people rides. And my dad was like, are you insane? Are you insane? And I remember listening to that going like, that is the most insane thing I've ever heard. Like, it's not a taxi. It's just some guy in a car just picked up my cousin and his family, dropped him off. He's like, yeah, it was like $5, whatever it was. I was like, that is the most horrific thing I've ever heard. And then now it's like, now when I go to Texas this weekend, I'm going to be taking about 1,500 Ubers, like everywhere I go. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
We are in a completely different universe. I mean, if you really think about
how did that change New York City and the taxi drivers?
Right.
How did that change?
Right.
I've never taken a taxi in New York City.
Or Vegas or any of those
Uber.
places that used to only you depend on taxis. And yeah, Andy says in the chat how hard they used to have to work to get their medallion. Exactly. Like, yeah, it's wild. But now it's like you even my parents who were like, I don't even know what an Uber is. Eventually my dad, when he was on vacation, he downloaded the app. And he was like, this thing's great. I don't ever have to pull out my credit card or anything, you know? And
I remember
you get converts.
When I was a kid, like if we needed a ride somewhere and on vacation as a family and we didn't have a rent, like my parents would always rent a car, right? If we wanted to go anywhere. But if you didn't and we didn't have a rental car, you had to go down to the front desk of the hotel. They'd have to call you a cab. You'd have to get the cab and then figure out how to get there and then get the guy's number so you could call the cab company so you can get the ride back to the hotel. Now it's on your phone. It's so easy.
Right. I mean, honestly, I think rideshare services are an outstanding example of technology and capitalism meeting to change the marketplace, right? And yeah, did that go on the backs of cab companies? It did, but were cab companies less efficient than the new technology? They were. And as it turned out, our fellow man can pick us up and drop us off somewhere else, and there will be incidents along the way. Just like every once in a while, there'd be an incident in a cab. Not exactly the same. You take a little risk, but also at the same time, you have this massive convenience.
I still take a cab every so often. Just,
really?
Yeah. Just like in Vegas or last time I was in New York, I took a cab. Like just sometimes.
Well, in Vegas, at least you've got the taxi line there,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
you could just jump in. And
so that's different than being on a street corner.
Right.
And just being like, I need to go from here to there. Hey, cabbie, like praying that one drove by.
Yeah.
This is where we are.
Yeah.
You used to never see cabs in San Diego anyway, except for the airport.
Except for the airport.
And even that was pre-Uber. I couldn't remember ever seeing a cab anywhere in San Diego.
I don't think we have any idea as a society how much we've changed thanks to technology in the last 15 years.
That's what I mean. Look at your son. And Braden's generation slash Braden's kids. They're going to grow up never understanding what it used to be like to walk around having cash in your pocket or write checks or what, because everything is just on their phone. They just go boop.
Every single thing is now digital stimulation. It's the truth is inside the machine. Trust the machine.
I've had the same amount of cash in my wallet for almost a year now. And it's almost worthless. I can't use it for anything. I just have it just to fill it up, just fill up the wallet with something.
Yeah, there are very few places that really cash is welcome these days.
There's not a lot of places where you can use cash anymore.
I mean, dispensaries and casinos come to mind. That's about it.
Yeah, buying a lotto ticket.
Yeah, I mean, even at 7-Eleven, they're like, wouldn't you rather just tap this right here? Don't make us make change. And then guess what? 10 years from now, no one is going to have the ability to make change.
Was there ever a time
in this country
in your guys' life where like you'd be embarrassed to pay something so cheap with a credit card?
Yes. And now that's completely gone.
It's
right?
already,
You go to 7-Eleven, right? It's like $2.50, and you're like, I'm going to use my card. And like, you used to get like dirty looks, and now it's like, you pull out cash, you're like, dude, I got to get you change? Like, you kidding me?
I told you how
What is this? What is this?
Did I tell you how this changed for me? I probably didn't. After this timeout on 11:15 on a newly found Clock Integrity Tuesday, why I went completely cashless. It was one moment and a friend's comment to me, and it was like, oh my God, you're exactly right. Why have I not done this way?
Oh, wow.
My entire life. And tell you that right after this. Plus, we're going to talk baseball too. I promise. Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station. It's a very light sports day, though. You got to admit. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan's brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Buffalo Wild Wings is football. Hey, San Diego sports fans, head to your local Buffalo Wild Wings and try their new maple chipotle sauce for rich maple sweetness and a mild smoky chipotle heat. Or for a bit of kick, check out the new Cajun sauce for a rich blend of spicy and tangy pepper sauce. Stop by your local San Diego B-Dubs or order now for takeout and delivery with Buffalo Wild Wings. Go. It's Annie and Elsten, and we were just talking about modern technology and going cashless. And I was somebody who most of my life barely ever used a credit card.
Okay.
And as you mentioned, and this is what kind of triggered it for me, would get mad at the 7-Eleven if I'm in line and somebody paid for a coffee cup, a cup of coffee with a credit card. I was like, come on, man.
Wait, what are we doing here?
Yeah, just get the $2 out of your... Get the $2 out of your wallet. Well, now I'm that person, too.
I'd be in front of you paying with my credit card.
Now I'm that person, too. By the way, now with the little tap thing, it's actually so much fast. It's probably faster than them making change, to be honest with you. But I used to always use my debit card. And I thought, I don't want to put a bunch of things on my credit. And, I was trained this by my parents and then by my wife. And, you're going to run up a balance and you're not going to pay it. And then you're going to do this or that. And I believed their nonsense. I believed all those worms in my ear.
Yeah, that is nonsense.
And so that's what I did. I never used a credit. I would never use a credit card, and I would use my debit card to pay for so many things when it was card time. Well, it was like 3 years ago that I was at a San Diego Loyal match and went to the concession stand behind Section 109 and bought a $14 Buena Vesa from Stone, one of those nice tall beers, $14 beer, woohoo. And then like a few weeks later, I just decided to check my account, my checking account. I don't know how many times you actually just roll through your transactions.
Not all the time.
Not all the time, right? Like you don't do it all the time.
I should do it more than I do, yes.
Right, but so this was one of those times that I was
You're
just
let me check out and see what I've been doing here.
Probably because I withdrew or something and looked at the balance and went, what's going on? And I looked. They charged me $1,400.
No!
Oh, my God.
For the Buena Vesa. They charged me $1,400 for the beer. I mean, well of a beer.
Wow.
It wasn't quite that good. To be honest, it wasn't quite that good. And
you should have gotten a whole experience with that.
Right? And so then
tour the brewery.
It became a whole thing.
Make your own beer.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. The beer should be named after me. It should be delivered to me.
It's the Elsten Ale right
there.
here.
There should be a lot of perks for a $1,400 beer. So, I reached out to the Loyal, and they're like, no, it's USD concessions, and then it's this company. It's third-party company, and then reach that company and go through this and that. And, eventually they did, recredit my account for $1,386, right? And kept the $14 for the beer, which is fine.
They should have given me the free beer.
I think they could have given me the free beer,
right.
but they didn't. But nonetheless. And so I was talking to my buddy Gennaro about this again 3 years ago on a podcast, and he just looked at me like I was an idiot. And he's like, well, yeah, dummy, that's why you put everything on your credit card.
It's easier to refute.
Because
those companies flag that so fast because it's them losing money.
And then they'll also fight the fight for you.
Right, and they'll do it for you.
They'll take it right off.
And you have no,
Yeah, you just go on
you
with your
didn't
day.
lose the $1,400.
Right.
The $1,400 were lost by Chase.
Right.
Chase is going to chase that down.
It's not your actual
Wells
bank
Fargo's
account.
going to chase that down. Visa's going to chase that down.
Yeah.
They're going to send Vito and Capo out there. They are not going to put it on me. And he said that to me that day, and it's like light went on, and literally that's what I've done for every transaction since that day.
Yeah.
Since that day. Every single thing has gone onto a credit card. And first I used an Apple Card, and then I switched to a Chase because now I get Disney dollars.
Yeah, you get your points.
As a kickback.
Your benefits.
Right. And and then I can look at it right in the app. If anything's bad, it's challengeable right there. And it's clean. And all I do is basically every 3 or 4 days, I just open up the app and just pay whatever the balance is.
It is funny because, 2, 3, 4 generations ago, if they were looking at their credit card statement and saw all those charges. I know my dad, he'd be, $2.50 coffee, or now it's like $5 whatever coffee. So many of them, but now it's so normal to do that. But back in the day, it wasn't as what is the word, like allowed, embraced.
Yeah. Well, now everyone wants to go cashless. Now you can't walk in with a 20 and try and buy a beer at Petco because it wouldn't pay for it.
I don't really
because you
I don't
can't
understand
do it.
why
that's also
stadiums
true.
are cashless. I feel like there should be. Is that just because I don't really get that part of it?
Simplicity.
I guess.
And-
yeah.
and
COVID
yes,
gave them the excuse to just give it.
right.
Right.
But I do think if you're someone who doesn't have, not everyone has, right, like a credit card or a debit card what if you're younger?
It's
I
almost
don't know.
it's almost
Right.
impossible
Well,
to
then-
not be able to live
That's
without
true.
one of these things at this point.
Okay, and here now we get back to
Yeah.
the same thing that we talked about at the end of the last segment. We don't even realize how many ways we've changed as a society because of technology and the rapid expansion and change of technology over the course of 15 years. I mean, it was not that long ago that it wasn't ubiquitous to be able to locate somebody at any time. You know what I mean? That like if I needed to get a hold of you two people, that there could be an expectation that you'd be right on the other end of a text chain, right? It was more of like, are you home? Should I call you at home? Is it right to call you at home after 6:30?
Right.
You know,
And then
like,
there'd be a answering machine, and it would screen calls.
yeah. I mean, all of that. Well, now we just screen calls in terms of
Yeah,
like
and on our own
boop,
phones,
little
but-
side button there. Oh, doop, sorry about
Potential
that.
spam.
Yeah,
But it used to be a phone like connected to it used to be a landline.
it's a real thing.
Yeah. You
Real
could-
thing. Real honest.
Just
truth.
like you got internet, you would get a phone number for your house.
that seems silly and
'Cause
quaint and
there's
anachronistic
people listening
now.
that are like, what? What does that even
no,
mean?
that was a real thing. We had a phone on the side of the wall in the kitchen, and you ran to get that, and the length of the cord mattered. Once you became a teenager, it
You got
really
a
mattered.
cordless phone. You were rolling, man.
Oh
like
my
you were
gosh.
a cool kid.
It really was pretty cool to be
Yeah.
able to wander around the house and talk on the phone. Things have changed, but just point being, that was my story of that's why I went cashless that day. And Alex in the chat was, well, yeah, you can dispute debit card charges. You can, but that money was out of my account. It went away. It had to be returned by a party. I don't like that. I don't like that. I much prefer the situation where there's the company in between, and as long as you just take care of every 3-4 days, get on there every week or so, get on there. Oh, what's the balance? Boom, just pay the balance. Then you've got a seamless situation where you are spending the same way you would have done before, but you've got that layer of protection and you get a little bit of a bonus point
Right, yeah.
on the back end. So there you go. Submit to authority and to technology is the
This segment is brought to you by Capital One.
Let them
precisely.
track everything you do and every move you make, essentially.
Indeed.
And then hit you with more ads for that, by the way, too.
Well, we've reserved the final part of this half hour to actually talk about baseball.
Yeah, we're going to talk about baseball.
And when we come back,
What do you think Xander Bogart's opinion is on credit cards and cash?
And is it the same in Aruba?
that's
right,
a question.
What does he think about Airbnb?
Do they use dollars in Aruba? Do they use rubles? What's
Aruba,
Aru-
Jamaica. They use currency.
Yeah, what is the is it Dutch?
Aruban florin? Aruba's official currency is the Aruban florin, but U.S.
Florin.
dollars are widely accepted.
Oh, okay.
1 florin as of right now on the exchange is
Wonder what
worth
it looks like.
56 cents. on the
Okay,
US dollar.
it's not that bad.
So it's half of a dollar.
Oh, it's pretty. They have pretty colorful money.
I would hope that something
Yes.
called a florin would be floral.
And some like iguanas or something on them. Yeah.
I think they really missed an opportunity that they could have called them rubles, and that would have been just the best name. Xander Bogaerts.
They take the florins and curacao too.
Hey.
Ooh, hey.
Well, when Xander and
Jurickson?
Jurickson used to go and play each other in their cross tournaments, their baseball tournaments as kids, see, it was nice and easy for them.
They played dominoes in the back of the plane for florin.
And they
For
were
florin.
right. They were able to use their currency both places.
Firing out that florin. Hey, Jurickson, we've got a deal for you. 15 million florin a year.
Sounds good.
What do you say? We're going to pay you market rate. It's just going to be in rubles instead of U.S. dollars. No big deal? Okay, we're going to come back and talk about Xander's season and how his future here, which has got a long time left in it, seems to be charting forward for 2025. Next, Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Baseball coverage on 97.3 The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.com and get a great deal on an iPhone 16 Pro. T-Mobile unwilling to sponsor our technology-based segments, the last two, but baseball coverage, they're ready to go. So here we go. As we have been doing periodically and will continue to do periodically and at a very measured pace. I believe it's now 98 days to the start of spring training. Plenty of time to fill.
Oh, man. 98?
Yeah. Used to be more.
We're under 100.
Gets fewer every day. Right. Fewer days every day. One fewer day, technically, every day. So we have presented a series of performance reviews. On past episodes, we reviewed the Padres front office. We reviewed the manager and coaching staff. We reviewed catcher. And we reviewed first base. Today, we are sliding on over to the keystone position. We are sliding on over to second base. And seeing as we talked a lot about Jake Cronenworth when we discussed first base, this is mostly going to be a Xander Bogaerts segment because second base was mostly Xander Bogaerts in 2024. Famously, the Padres, who had signed Bogaerts to an 11-year, $280 million deal prior to 2023, welcomed him to spring training, his first day, with a little, hey, come on into the office. Come sit down for a second. And with a revelation that he would no longer be the shortstop of the team. He would be the second baseman of the team. Bogaerts then proceeded to transition to second base. He wound up playing 85 games at second base in the 2024 season, the first 85 games of his career at the position. He also suffered a shoulder injury that kept him out for almost 60 games for, pretty decent portion, over a third of the season. Xander Bogaerts spent on the disabled list. He came back. He played second base. He hit better for a period of time. Then, of course, Ha-Seong Kim injured his shoulder. Over to shortstop, slid Xander, wound up playing 20 games in the regular season and all of the Padres playoff games as their shortstop at the end of the year. Very well, might be their shortstop next year as well. But one thing for sure, Annie, is that the Padres organizationally made a decision that they thought Xander Bogaerts' days at shortstop were over the beginning of last year. They thought that was it for Xander at shortstop. He's better suited to be a second baseman. Necessity forced the change at the end of the year.
Absolutely. And I think it's still a confusing situation what happened at the beginning of last season and how they handled that, they being the Padres. I think Xander always knew and knows that he's going to slide farther and farther away from the middle of the infield. He's going to end up at second, and then eventually he's going to end up at first base. And while he's understanding of that, I don't think he expected it to happen last year, in 2024. So he really did his part in terms of, okay, because it came as a huge shock to him. All right, let me learn second. Did his best. Obviously, we noted his struggles that he had in terms of it being a different position for him and him having to change his footwork and where his hips are and his arm slot. His story last year was a story in a few parts. It was a rough start to the season. Then his injury kept him out, in which he worked on a ton of footwork and a ton of mechanics at second base and improved there. Then he came back and improved his numbers in that last part of the season, but then was asked to go back to shortstop and go back to the old mechanics and the old arm slot and the old everything. So another weird year for Xander. I'm very hopeful for him. If he's a shortstop next year, communicate it early on. Let him work on that in the offseason, get back to being that guy. Doesn't mean he's going to be the shortstop forever. I think everyone's understanding of the fact that Leadoff DeVries is on his way in, and you're probably going to see one more shortstop before 2026 when DeVries is coming in, or maybe the middle of the season, or obviously it depends on how DeVries does and how his progression goes. But you're not looking at a long-term plan for Xander at shortstop. I think he's more than capable of staying at the position. In terms of his bat, they've got to figure out are his struggles more due to the injuries? He had the injury in 2023 with his wrist, and then the injury in 2024 with that shoulder fracture. Or is there some regression there? His slugging numbers are down, right? His slugging numbers are definitely down.
Significantly
down.
down.
His hitting the fastball not always as prolific for him as it used to be. But he finished 2023 a 285 batting average, 350 on base percentage. His adjusted on base plus slugging was 17 points above league average. His runners in scoring position, not great. That was 192, but that wasn't great for the whole team pretty much. And then last season, that closing stretch that he batted 299 with a 770 OPS, 7 home runs in the 64 games. And again, it's hard to know like what did affect him in terms of those position change and what didn't. I don't think you look at Xander Bogaerts and you're like, this guy's never going to be good. I don't believe that. I think that this has been an adjustment for him. But now he's in year 3. And he does have to find that consistency that he used to have. And I know he wants to, that he used to have with the Red Sox, or at least get closer to it.
Speaking of his position change, looking at Baseball Savant and, the StatCast data. The StatCast data suggested that Xander Bogaerts was an excellent fielder at second base. In his 80 games at second base, he recorded 6 outs above average. That was his best performance ever at any position for any season in Major League Baseball, was what he did at second base.
But he's always been, like in 2023, his outs above average at shortstop was better than the big league average. He's always been better than the big league average, hasn't he, in his career?
No, he was actually a very poor defender at the beginning of his year. He was negative 17 outs above average, negative 9, negative 3, negative 11. Then the second to last, he really turned, and he talked about this, the last 2 years in Boston, or especially the last year in Boston, 2022, he really worked very hard on his fielding. Of course, right before his free agent season, really smart on Xander's part, and he recorded his first ever good defensive year in 2022. 2023 for the Padres at shortstop, also 3 outs above average. He was okay.
Yeah, he was solid. He's not, I don't think he's an elite shortstop, but he's a solid shortstop.
Well, last year, and in his short time at shortstop, he put up a -1 compared to the +6 over at second base. So now, is that enough time to completely evaluate him? No. And Annie made the point very cleanly. Transition. Was he ready for the position to be back at shortstop after he spent the whole year working on being the best second baseman that he could be? I think it is a fair question. I think it's fair to the athlete to ask the question of, when you've been working so hard at making such a dramatic change positionally, and then you're thrown back. It's not just riding a bicycle. It's not like just snapping right back into an old habit. But Xander, these are regular season numbers. We also know in the playoffs, Xander was poor at shortstop. He missed some key plays along the way. One in a game that was already a little bit out of reach in that game 4 of the DS. But still, that was a play in a 5-0 game that turned it out, got it out of reach on a double play ball that he clanked. So,
and I don't also know how much, it kind of caught up to him at that point. I mean, he, like I mentioned earlier on the show, maybe a month ago or whatever, he was working harder than any starter at that point.
Right.
Because he had to be on the field longer before games to relearn positions and go back to, this is a time when guys are off their feet. They're trying to just conserve whatever energy they have for the playoffs. And he went out there and would put in that work every single day. So that's why I'm hopeful that two things, a healthy season, because he hasn't had that with the Padres yet, and a season in which he's just at his position. Give him a chance, to kind of show, hey, I can, handle all this. I'm okay with all this. Because I also think it's the first year with the Padres, coming off of his entire career with the Red Sox. I think you got to give him a little leash there, that it was a transition for him and it was a difficult one to make, in the sense of like, you got to find your way a little in a new organization.
Yeah. Xander Bogaerts, by and large, has been a workmanlike player for the San Diego Padres who has not been the impact player that you expect when you get a contract like this and a resume like this.
I think he would agree with that. He definitely wants to be doing better than he has. He says that.
Yeah, 1.2 WAR last year. That's below the threshold of what you consider an average contributing player. It's basically a 1.5, 2 WAR that you consider to be an average contributing player. When we talked about Jake Cronenworth's 2 WAR season, right, we looked at that and said, yeah, that's a good solid season for Jake. For Xander Bogaerts, you're really looking for a lot more. You're looking for something in that 4 to 6 range. And, it was just last year, 2023, that he put up 4.4 B-WAR. The year before that, 6, 5, 6.3, 4.9. So the heart of his career, when he put up 4 All-Star appearances between ages 23 and 29, he put up those kinds of years. 2023, we remember, he had a great start and a great finish, and he had a wrist injury that you could explain away some of what happened for Xander Bogaerts. That's what made last year, I thought, so disappointing. And yes, the move to second base we can utilize as a little bit of an excuse for the start of the year, right? If you want to do it, you can give him that. You can give him that you can hang his jersey on and say, tough start to the year. But I would also, if we're going down that road, argue that he wasn't done a lot of favors by Mike Shildt by being asked to bat leadoff for the team for the first 29 games of the season. He was held in that leadoff spot for the entire worst stretch of the year last year, and it was by far where he hit the worst.
I forgot he was leadoff.
Not only was he leadoff, but there was an argument, I remember well, on the second or third round table, where I was, not that I continue to hold grudges for months, but where it was like, no, Craig, you're an idiot. Stability, keep things the way they are. Leave him there. And I was like, no, he's not a leadoff man. Don't bat him leadoff. And as a point of fact, he hit much better batting 5th and 6th than he ever did hitting first.
In his career, was he ever? I thought he was in 2023. He was leadoff, and oh no, maybe that was Fernando. Remember in 2023, he had a good start to the season. Yeah, he had a really good start to the season.
He
but
did,
I forget
but he
where
wasn't leading off.
Okay, I forget where he was in the lineup. Yeah,
and he theoretically at some point in his career could have been a leadoff hitter, but he's really not that guy. He's not the guy that's going to constantly work the count and draw a bunch of walks and be a pest on the bases. He is, let me just put it this way. He's only been asked to bat leadoff for 80 games in his entire career. And 29 of those came last year. He has spent his whole career hitting 3rd, 4th, 5th, generally.
Yeah.
For the Boston Red Sox or for the San Diego Padres. So it's just not the kind of player he is. And I think there was an entire just miscasting of Xander at the start of the year. Now you're a second baseman. Now you're a leadoff hitter.
I think there's been a bit of a miscasting of Xander since he came to the Padres. I think it's been a little bit of like, where does he fit? How does he belong? And then there's been kind of a mentality of like, let's just move Xander. Let's just have Xander do this. And I think it kind of puts a guy, picture it if you start a new job. And I understand everyone who's saying, look, he's getting paid a lot of money. And he is not complaining. He wants to help the team. One of the things I like the most about Xander is he's won 2 World Series and he's been part of a Red Sox team that had the weight of the world, watching them, and that had a lot of expectations and a lot of needing to prove themselves. And he's very, what is the word? Like mature about how baseball works and doesn't really take things personally. He's very like, hey, like he's been in the rough, tough markets, and needed to come through and succeed in those. So in really challenging teams, right? So he understands what's going on here, and I do believe that like trying to find his footing inside of a new organization. He grew up with the Red Sox. The Red Sox were his team. And then also not wanting to step on other people's toes and then having a bit of a change at the position and then just not having success. I think it just kind of, can spiral on you sometimes. But he's a good baseball player. And as long as this isn't just age regression, as long as this isn't just not your normal, but your, you can't just explain it away by age regression, which time will tell if it's that, I guess, right?
Right.
Then I think, he's in year 3. Yes, he knows. And I think that it's fair to say he's got to go out there. He's got to have a more consistent year and he's got to have hopefully a healthier year. And I think the Padres can help him along with that in terms of where they're playing him and how they're using him.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his StatCast sliders, for example. And, his average exit velocity has dropped a good solid 2 to 3 miles per hour off his bat from his heyday to where he is right now.
Yeah, he's not hitting the ball as hard. I noticed that too.
He's not. And then here's another thing that I note, And, listen, Xander doesn't get a great markup in this performance review for 2024. This isn't the one where he goes home feeling great and taking his wife out to dinner, and being like, hey, listen, I had a great meeting with the boss. When you look at his month-to-month performance last year, it's actually quite stark because when he came back from the shoulder injury, he had 1 2-week stretch where you couldn't get him out.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was the last 2 weeks of July. He hit 453 that 2-week period, literally 13 games. You look at every other month of the year, these are his on-base percentages by month. 284, 220, 307, 301. And this is for a guy who's a career 350 on-base player. Career 352 on-base player. So he was not giving you what you need any time other than a 2-week stretch last year. Every other time, he was a suboptimal, not reaching base, not hitting for power, not really. He runs the bases well, but he's not a fast base runner. So Xander wasn't giving you a lot other than good defense at second base all year, except for a very short period of time. It's really, when I boil it all down, this is a lost season for Xander Bogaerts. This was a year that just started wrong, got off even on a worse start, got off to the worst start of his career. He's finally just barely starting to piece together. I think it went like 4 for 12 the 3 games before he hurt his shoulder. It was like maybe he's starting to hurts his shoulder. Out 2.5 months, comes back, hits like gangbusters for 2 weeks. We're like, Xander's back. And those 2 weeks numbers propped up those second half stats because really you look the rest of the months and he kind of hit 250 with a 300 on base percentage and no power the rest of the way. Padres, bottom line, need way more from Xander Bogaerts the next 3-4 years.
Yeah. I think that he does need to get back to a little bit more of the form that he was, or just a new version of Xander that is more consistent, like I said, and able to produce for a longer period of time. Because you can't, that's not what you're going to want going forward. You're going to need more from him, like you said, and that lineup. I believe he can do it. I think it's just a matter of, for him, you got to get back in the lab, figure out what's going on here. Because 1 year, guys will have a down year, but he's kind of had, since he came over for the Red Sox, 2023 wasn't as terrible as people make it out to be. It really wasn't. And he had the wrist thing. But then now you had kind of another year that, isn't one for the books. It's not going to be super memorable for you. So now you got to try to figure out how to turn that train around because you still have plenty more years here with the Padres that you're going to want to produce. With
2 outs and runners in scoring position last year, Xander Bogaerts hit 158 with a 184 slug. 0 homers last year. 6 for 38. In those positions. And that's coming off of being so unclutch the year before. So, really, just at some point, dude, you got to get hits with runners on base. This is what you're getting paid almost $30 million a year to do, is to be rock solid in so many different categories for the team, and he's just not been that
and
yet.
He's got Victor Rodriguez with him, who he had a ton of success with in Boston when they were both there. So, hopefully this is something where he can turn it around.
Xander Bogaerts' performance review, yikes, was kind of the short version of it, and hoping for a whole lot better in 2025. We are hitting the halfway point of the show. When we come back, your 12 o'clock Sports Fix for Tuesday is next. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to the lunch hour. It is 12 o'clock. We are at the halfway point of your midday hang. It's Annie and Elsten on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. It is hazy and warm outside our studios, and it is air-conditioned and cool here inside the Odyssey Studios, where Annie Halbrin, myself, Craig Elsten, and Braden Soprenet are all with you till 2 o'clock, when Chris will check in from 2 to 6. Matt Scraby, a man alone in a darkened studio, will bring you the Scraby Experience from 6 to 7 p.m. I think that's the official rebranded name, the Scraby Experience.
Is that what he calls the show now?
I think he should, if he hasn't yet.
Nobody asked me. Well, right?
Experience, the Scraby Experience.
Can't wait. Is he going to... I want the full breakdown of the 25 picks for the college football playoff top 25.
There you go. Well, he'll have that info.
He should. I want to hear him react to it. I want his gripes on that.
You're going to have to teach him some of the team names first.
That's right.
But nonetheless, that's coming up at 6 o'clock later today. What's coming up your way right now? Heading directly to your ear balls?
Whoa.
The Sports Fix.
Earballs?
Earballs?
Isn't that a thing? No?
That'd be a drum. No ball busting here.
No.
I love to
Nor drum
whisper
busting,
in your
hopefully.
ear balls.
I mean, keep the
Earballs.
volume low. No drum busting. GM meetings are underway today. They're just like talking. It's just coffee talk.
They're in the talking
talking.
phase.
Nonetheless,
What do
Annie
you
has a
have?
report.
What do I have?
Yeah. Should we do this
Should we
thing?
do this?
What do you
It's all
think?
probably like a bunch of lies anyways. But anyways, all right. Well, we will start with the news that we had earlier. Milwaukee Brewers senior VP and general manager Matt Arnold, whose club earned its second consecutive National League Central title this season, has been named the recipient of MLB's 2024 Executive of the Year award. This was announced last night. The official award was voted on by the 30 clubs, each of which cast a vote prior to the start of the postseason. Runner-up was Kansas City Royals Executive VP and General Manager J.J. Piccolo, while Chris Antonetti, President of Baseball Ops for the Guardians, finished third. Free agent first baseman Carlos Santana will turn 39 in April, but he's not thinking of calling it a career anytime soon. His agent tells John Morosi that Santana would like to play another 3 or 4 seasons before he considers retirement. The veteran switch hitter signed a 1-year, $5.25 million deal with the Twins last winter and delivered his best overall performance since 2019.
Bring him here.
Yeah.
I'm all for bringing him here.
This is also an example of older age does not necessarily mean regression.
Not always.
Not always. Carlos Santana. All right, the Cardinals re-signed Packy Naughton to a 2-year minor league deal. Packy underwent a UCL reconstruction surgery last July. He was already working his way back from a flexor tendon surgery in June 2023.
Oh.
You don't like Packy?
I mean, I think Packy Blinders is a good show.
He also retore his flexor tendon, rough deal, in addition to the UCL damage, but he's re-signing a 2-year minor league deal.
Sounds like a damaged Packy.
Packy Naughton. He sounds like he should be playing for the Red Sox.
Packy
Go
Naughton!
get Packy.
Come over here,
Packy
Packy!
will fix it.
How do you like them apples, Packy?
It looks like the payroll ceiling for the Phillies will continue to rise heading into 2025. As team chairman John Middleton told the Philadelphia Inquirer earlier this week, he said, quote, "Given where we are in contract cycles and minor league people coming up, I expect the player payroll to be higher this year rather than lower. I'd be surprised if it's the same, and I'd be stunned, very stunned, if it's lower. I don't see it being lower." According to projections, the Phillies have roughly somewhere between $259 to $270 million already committed to their 2025 payroll in terms of pure dollars. The luxury tax number is even higher, with approximate tax projection of $281 million to $288.4 million.
Hoo-wee.
All right. Well, Phillies. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? What are you going to do, Packy? All right, Braden.
Braden's got college. You got hoops or football? Or
I got
what?
some NFL stuff we could talk about, and then we'll talk about college hoops
Gotcha.
in a little bit. Let's talk about the NFL. Today's the trade deadline.
Yes.
Deadline is in 55 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Moves that have already happened today. Commanders solidified their secondary Tuesday, trading for New Orleans Saints quarterback Marshawn Lattimore. Lattimore gets acquired as the Commanders traded 2025 picks in the 3rd and 4th rounds, and also gave the Saints a 2025 6th-round pick they acquired in a previous trade this summer for defensive tackle John Ridgway III. In addition to Lattimore, Washington receives a 2025 5th-round pick. Commanders, who have long stated their desire to build through the draft, still have 7 picks in 2025. Steelers trade a draft pick for Mike Williams after a months-long search for a wideout. Pittsburgh Steelers finally landed a new addition at the trade deadline, acquiring Mike Williams from the New York Jets for the 2025 5th-round pick, a source told Adam Schefter on Tuesday. In Williams, the Steelers added a complimentary player to a top wideout in George Pickens, who has been the focal point of defenses since the team traded Deontay Johnson to the Panthers for cornerback Dante Jackson in the offseason. Dante Jackson for Deontay Johnson. Interesting move in the offseason.
DJ, yeah.
Steelers pick up Mike Williams. Seahawks will not trade DK Metcalf before the deadline, according to sources. Despite speculation that he could move on from they could move on from the star receiver, teams have called the Seahawks about Metcalf, according to Fowler, but the conversations have been a non-starter. So DK will remain a Seahawk through the trade deadline. Interesting news for the Raiders. Former Raiders coach and Chargers coach and resident Padres fan, Norv Turner, who has been a head coach for 2 other franchises and an offensive coordinator for 7 others, is joining the Raiders in an advisory role for the offense, a source confirmed.
My advice to you is get better players.
The Raiders, mired in a 5-game losing streak to fall to 2-7 headed into their bye week, fired offensive coordinator Luke Getsy, quarterbacks coach Rich Scangarello, and offensive line coach James Craig following Sunday's 41-24 loss to the Bengals. Raiders coach Antonio Pierce said Monday he would, quote, use the next 24 to 48 hours to decide on new offensive play caller, and that Turner's son, Scott Turner, is a leading candidate. The younger Turner is the Raiders' pass game quarter and was Washington's offensive coordinator from 2020 to 2022. The Raiders also have 2 other former O coordinators on staff, and receivers coach Edgar Bennett and senior offensive assistant Joe Philbin. Remember him in his Miami Dolphin days?
Oh, yeah.
So let me get this straight. They fired their offensive coordinator, their quarterbacks coach, and their offensive line coach, and they're going to spend the next 24 to 48 hours to decide who's going to call plays, and it might be Norv Turner's son, Scott Turner, so now they're bringing in Norv Turner as an advisory role.
I could always tell my son what to do. He'd say yes.
It's very Raiders-y chaotic, but hey, go Norv, you know?
Yeah, go Norv.
Yes.
Norv, who's 72 now, joins the staff with plenty of experience to help Pierce. On Pierce's staff, they have Joe Philbin, who is a head coach for the Dolphins. Assistant head coach Marvin Lewis is on the staff, who spent 16 seasons coaching the Bengals.
He was
two-time Super Bowl winning coach Tom Coughlin, who has been a consultant to Pierce. So they just have all of the head coaches from the 2010s, 2000s to 2010s on this staff, and they don't know who's going to call the plays.
Yeah, you know what this sounds like to me?
I like the Raiders that are the train wreck that they are.
Yeah.
I do. It's very Raiders-y.
It sounds like a lot of very smart old retired coaches finding a mark in Las Vegas named Mark Davis and just bleeding him dry. Oh, how many different old consultants Tom Coughlin and Norv Turner are having a lunch right now, just laughing their ass off.
Enjoy, like, hey, you know, do
Be
your
part of the
work and
team
then
again.
go take in a show.
The thing that's interesting, it reminds me of that commercial we saw where Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith and Dan Marino, Emmitt Smith, and Jerry Rice all like put the uniform back on and like, hey, look, we still got it.
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing with the coaches.
I hope Norv has fun with it. You know, it's a little.
I hope he gets prepaid for his advice.
I'm sure he will get. I'm sure this is contracted.
My advice to you is get rid of all these guys. They stink.
I hope he goes in there. He's like, "What the hell are you guys doing here?
Yeah.
What kind of operation are you running?
Here's my advice to you.
You need this, and this. Okay?
Clear them all out. Throw a few more screens. I think they're great. NBA. Pre-election day had a full slate. 15 games starting at 4 p.m. Pacific time, and then a new game every 15 minutes.
Oh, you were in heaven.
Tick, tick, tick. It was just like the Frozen Frenzy idea.
Yes.
but the NBA didn't. Well, it was good. It was a good night. Good night. Association takes the day off today, completely off.
Well, after that.
Yeah, everyone wearing their vote warm-ups and everything.
Right, we said this yesterday. Yes. That's actually, I think, kind of cool.
Yeah, it's good. I like it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Go out, vote. No one plays. Right.
Nobody play. Everybody vote. Great call. Great call. Here are some of the results from last night. The Lakers dropped to 1-3 on their extended road trip. Embarrassing loss to the Detroit Pistons, 115-103. How do you lose to Detroit? Again, L.A., come on. Also, Anthony Davis apparently has a sore spot on his foot that he's been working with trainers all the time.
Uh-oh.
And in the fourth quarter, he came down directly on the sore spot. Says he's not going to miss any time, did stay in the game, but he had to be helped off for a minute. So stay tuned. Anthony Davis, Payne, they are fellow travelers down the road every year in the association. Two teams going in opposite directions. The Cleveland Cavaliers edged a Milwaukee team without Giannis 116-114 last night. That improved the Cavs to 8-0. The Bucks are 1-6. Doc Rivers is reconsidering things quickly.
I forgot. Did he take over last year? Was
Yeah,
that last year?
mid-season.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going great.
Broadcasting, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they pulled him out of the booth mid-season to go
He
coach
could
the
be next to
Bucks.
Doris Burke right now, chilling.
In a 5-star hotel,
Steak
traveling,
dinners.
doing his thing, right?
No
Lovely
stress.
wine,
Just right,
red
exactly.
wine decanted,
No stress whatsoever.
cigar if you
Wardrobe
want
budget.
it. Yes.
Oh, the whole shebang.
A producer telling you what to do. No, now he's in charge of Giannis and Lillard and the Bucks, and it's a nightmare.
Stress.
Steve Ballmer's big investment, finally, first dividend. Clink, Clippers finally won their first game at Intuit Dome.
Wow.
Now, when they win, what happens at Intuit Dome?
It explodes. It just
right,
literally
exactly.
explodes.
I want some theatrics to happen.
That's a great
for
question.
every win.
Yeah, because like in Sacramento, for example, they light the beam, right? They have this purple
Yeah.
beam that shoots up from the
You
top
made
of the
this whole
Golden One Center.
technological marvel.
Yeah,
There should be a
what's the
winning
win?
button
Yeah,
when
what's
you
the win
press it.
thing?
Yeah.
Is there a win laser? Is
It
there
needs
a
to be
win?
super extra, too.
Does
there
it
a
shoot a
flag?
fan out of the seat and
Yes.
shoot him across the arena?
Does Steve Ballmer just fly around in a jetpack? I mean,
Does everybody on the wall suddenly just get swallowed up and then they go down a slide and
never
they
wanna
come out the
win.
other side? Right.
I'll just slide away.
Yes. I want something like
Congrats on the win. Whee! 2,000 people down the
that.
slide.
My expectations are high, Steve.
Well, we're going to look into the win ceremony.
Okay.
But nonetheless, they did win. And in fact, they were losing by 26 in the first quarter to San Antonio. They
comeback.
They came out as flat as a pancake, down 26. I hope nobody left in the first quarter. Finally rallied back. They won 113-104.
Tyler in the chat. Ballmer dunk tank.
I'm in.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm in. Exactly.
Some lucky fan gets to throw.
Right.
He's all waiting in line to dunk Ballmer.
Ballmer just progressively gets more and more milligrams of caffeine.
That'd be
just
great.
like you could just add more.
His
add
wife
more,
just
add
shakes her
more.
head and is like, I'll wait for you in the car.
I'm going to run around the building. That's how excited he gets after every win. Elsewhere, Phoenix spoiled Paul George's debut for the Sixers, edging Philly 118-116. Indiana, Denver, Portland, OKC, Minnesota, Houston, Utah, Sacramento, Brooklyn, Boston, and Golden State also netting wins last night. Only 2 games on the ice of the NHL last evening. The LA Kings' Darcy Kemper pitched a 16-save shutout, 3-0 road win at Nashville. New Jersey shut out Edmonton 3-0. The NHL and Election Day, they don't care. They're just playing 11 games on the ice tonight. So if you are looking for sports not election content tonight.
I mean, how many hockey players are registered voters in the United States?
Right. I mean, there's Russians, there's Canadians, there's
They're mostly international players.
It's very true. It's very true. So, realistically, Braden could probably tell you there's a couple MAC games tonight. The college football rankings come out tonight.
We got college basketball
There's
tonight.
college basketball tonight, some college hoops.
Is tonight SDSU, UCSD? Or
No,
is
that's
that tomorrow?
That's tomorrow.
Okay.
And you've got hockey. You can just watch hockey all afternoon, evening, and night long if you so choose. The Kings continue their road trip in Minnesota this evening. Anaheim hosts Vancouver. Back to you.
College basketball, Craig was upset about the kids having fun last night after UCF upset 13th ranked Texas A&M on the first day of the 2024-2025 men's college basketball season. Knights fans enjoyed the first court storming as they spilled out of the stands following a 64-61 win Monday.
Yep.
And the Big 12 used the victory to poke the SEC on social media with a familiar phrase, "It just means more."
Ouch.
Which is great. Good for you, UCF. In 2016, the SEC began to use that phrase across all sports to announce its self-anointed supremacy. This season, UCF was picked to finish 11th in the Big 12's preseason poll, while Wade Taylor IV, an all-SEC first-team selection last season, and Texas A&M were projected to finish 5th in their league entering the season. Unbelievable environment, UCF coach Johnny Dawkins said on the broadcast after the win. "Who wouldn't want to be here playing in front of this crowd? Our student section is amazing. Glazing, and more glazing." Taylor struggles. He finished 4 of 15 from the field with 13 points Monday. Contributed a tough road loss for the team that reached the NCAA tournament last season and battled top-seeded Houston until the final moments of overtime. In the second round, Big 12 only lost one game yesterday. Gonzaga was able to knock off Baylor in huge fashion for the West Coast Conference. There are some games tonight. None of them are on television. They're on ESPN+. Take that for what it's worth. Or the Patriot League TV, where you can watch SUNY Canton take on Colgate for all of you diehard college basketball fans out there. Wednesday, more ranked teams are in action. Creighton will play UT Rio Grande Valley. SIU Edwardsville will take on Indiana. This is the fun year this is the fun time of the year where you get to learn school names. SIU Edwardsville is playing at Indiana. Lipscomb at Arkansas, Vermont at Auburn, Sacred Heart at UConn, Wagner at Rutgers, and then of course you got UC San Diego at San Diego State tomorrow night at 7:00. Ryder plays at the Jenny Craig Pavilion against the Toreros for Ryder's second game of the season and USD's home opener. So that's a look at college basketball.
And there it is, your 12 o'clock sports fix for Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. When we come back, Mike Gundy is maybe just a little bit out of touch. Maybe he's had his job just a couple years too long. You ever know, you hear somebody talk about their job and you're like, oh, you've forgotten why you're there, don't you? Like, you've completely forgotten, haven't you? I've got audio evidence for you that Mike Gundy is one of those people. He's a man. He's 50 now, 52. Mike Gundy in the spotlight next. It's Annie and Elsten. Go until 2 o'clock. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Back with you on Annie and Elsten. A reminder that the Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed on 97.3 The Fan. So while you're listening, you can see what you missed. Click to listen on demand. If you missed a guest or a feature or a segment prior, we got you covered. Just download the free Odyssey app, search 97.3 The Fan, then tap earlier today and utilize the function. Good on you.
Tap, tap.
I'm in on Tyler in the chat's comments how a school needs to drop the put the fries in the bag on a game victory tweet.
So,
that would be pretty funny.
That'd be awesome.
my nephew said it to his mom yesterday, and it was
Oh, no.
hilarious.
No way.
Oh,
She
no.
was trying to find the right words for some story she was telling, and he just was like, "Hey, Mom, just put the fries in the
Put
bag."
the fries in the bag.
We were cracking
That's
up.
awesome.
It's amazing.
It was good.
Hey, man, put the fries in the bag. That's a good way to
haven't
get
used it
slapped
on
by your
James
mom,
yet.
though.
Haven't used it on James yet.
You got to wait for the right moment.
I am waiting for the right moment. I mean, I'm given at least 3 opportunities a day when he goes on a,
Fortnite rant.
meaningless 2-minute rant about Fortnite.
Hey, you know what? That's what the kid's into.
Very
Just-
passionate.
He's excited to share it
Shouldn't
with
he
you.
know his aura stuff then? Can you try the aura with him?
Yeah,
Negative aura.
Yeah.
it was cracking me up. I pick him up yesterday from school. He gets in the car. All of a sudden, it's just like turning a faucet on, like whoosh, and he's like, Fortnite. And we were talking, of course. Gets all the way through 2 lights, left-hand turn. We're turning left onto the main, and then he's like, okay, like almost just barely stopping for a breath. Right? It's like, Fortnite. I'm just tuning out, further tuning out. And then he's like, okay, now switching to school. This is going to be a topic change. And then, like, he just rolled into the school.
Hey, at least he wants to tell you things and talk to you,
True.
right? It could just be like, how's school? Fine.
Well, that's
What
what
are
it
you up to?
normally is.
Nothing.
That's what it normally
Got to
is.
start with the Fortnite stuff.
Yeah.
let
This is
the-
what he tells his buddies when he's like, my dad's complaining about the Padres and they haven't made a move yet. And yada, yada, yada.
Right.
And AJ Preller didn't win some stupid award. And I
Right,
don't
yeah.
know what he's talking about. And who cares?
You know how many
Fries
times
in the
I have
bag.
thought about, honest to God, how many times I have thought about, like, just rattling on to him for 3 minutes about the plot of the last show I watched? Because that's the other thing he'll do is he'll watch an anime and then he just tells me the entire plot of the thing. I'm like, I haven't watched it.
He needs a podcast, it sounds like.
I
He
haven't
needs a
watched the damn
Fortnite
thing.
TV
I think you need to help.
anime podcast.
I think you need to set him up there, Craig. I think you should add it to the Hot Tub Network.
Couple years,
Yes.
maybe a couple years. We'll see. By the way, former guest Sal Zizzo, former MLS 101 guest for us here, former San Diego Loyal captain, DM'd my Twitter when we talked about Airbnb. Said cameras not allowed in house, only outdoors. Also said he runs several Airbnbs. Bad hosting. Need to have spare keys in lockbox on site.
Yep. And they
Couldn't
won't-
agree more.
Yep. And they won't get a refund. It'll just be like, you know what? It's like filing a complaint to the officials. They're like, yep, sorry,
Yeah.
we've messed up.
Hey,
We'll be better next time for the next
little
group.
redundancy. Just have a little redundancy. It goes a long way. Yeah, you've got the electronic keypad,
That's right.
but
I mean,
Got to have
physical
other ways
key.
to get in.
yeah, and I'm just saying, like, so they banned this indoor camera thing in the beginning of 2024. CNN has an investigation of Airbnb's hidden camera problem in June of 2024. So
Uh-oh.
I'm just saying, and then there's a whole, if you Google this, just Google like Airbnb camera inside. There's a whole plethora of tips to try to find the indoor cameras so you know that they're there. So it may not be. They may have said it's illegal, like it's legal, or like it's formally gone, but are they really gone?
they're gone. They're gone. Ain't no bed bugs neither. Okay, let's switch to college football. I don't know why, but it always seems to land in the 12:20 segment. Mike Gundy has been the head coach at Oklahoma State for quite some time, and
I think he's the longest tenured coach in the Big 12, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe that's
He
correct.
might be one of the longest tenured coaches in college football.
Indeed. And back in 2007, Mike Gundy forever cemented his legacy with this classic rant after an Oklahoma State loss. And in particular, this was like their Tuesday. You know how every college football program has the Tuesday press conference.
Yeah.
This was the Tuesday press conference after reading a column that was critical of a player and
Quarterback.
his quarterback, and also had in it some doubts in the story from the coaching staff to the quarterback, insinuated that they weren't so confident in him. And this famous rant ensued.
If anybody hasn't read this article, I don't read it. This was brought to me by a mother of children. I think this is worth reading. Let me tell you why I'm talking about this article. Three-fourths of this is inaccurate.
Three-fourths of this is inaccurate.
And this article embarrasses me to be involved with athletics tremendously. And that article
Let me get to the
let's get to
the
the
ones
good
that
part.
do make plays. Are you kidding me? Where are we at in society today? Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not a kid. Write something about me or our coaches. Don't write about a kid that does everything right, that's heart's broken.
I would have such a hard time sitting in that room trying to hold back my like laughter of just him screaming, right?
Talking about a guy was the former quarterback at that school.
He was. I remember watching him when I was a very young man. Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. I'm a man, I'm 40. So, okay. So, obviously, Mike Gundy and criticism aren't two things that like to be in the same room. It's going to lead to problems. Now we have the older, wiser 57-year-old.
I wish he still wore a visor.
Mike Gundy.
Yeah.
He does sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes he still has silly hair.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
You would too if you lived in Stillwater.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair on your part to say that. So, Mike Gundy now talking once again about people criticizing his program,
Which was expected to win the Big 12 and still is looking for their first win in Big 12.
Did he hold up a newspaper? Because
No, well, I don't know. We just it's on Zoom. So.
Wait, can I just
who
say-
has newspapers anymore,
as
right?
a mother of children,
Of children.
like what are you
As
like a
opposed
mother
to a
of
mother of-
dogs,
yeah,
like
I
a
don't
mother of
So good.
It is Stillwater, guys. You're missing that point.
That little look he gave the reporter, though, a mother of children. Like,
As opposed
Those
to
were
Oh.
the days, though. I bet you that he and the reporter, though, talked it out afterwards. I bet you they had a little, like, chitty-chatty, and, you know, you moved
Chitty-chatty.
a
on.
mother of children.
That killed me. I missed that one before. I've never heard that one until today.
A mother of finance.
Mother Dragon.
Mother. Okay, so here's
I literally said 3/4 of the article was wrong.
Yeah.
The other quarter was totally
completely
fine.
right.
Yes.
This part right here where we ran the wrong play, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's fine.
You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, it's true.
let's see how much he's matured. It's not quite the same, but here we go. Here's Mike Gundy.
This place has had tremendous success for 18 and a half years or 19. I can't do the math real good, and so unfortunately in life, most people are weak. And as soon as things start to not go as good as what they thought, they fall apart and they panic. And then they want to point the finger and blame other people. That you see it happen in everyday life. People do it all the time. That's why I refuse to watch the TV and watch the news, because I get tired of people complaining and bitching about this and that versus just doing something about it and trying to figure out a way to make it better. Well, that's what happens in college athletics. And as Jenny said, she's exactly right. It's just on the bigger stage where people can voice their opinion. And in most cases, the people that are negative and voicing their opinion are the same ones that can't pay their own bills. They're not taking care of themselves. They're not taking care of their own family. They're not taking care of their own job, but they have an obligation to speak out and complain about others because it makes them feel better. But then in the end, when they go to bed at night, they're the same failure that they were before they said anything negative about anybody else.
Oh, well, I got it now. I understand.
Wait, he was talking about someone. Did some fans who spoke negatively?
And
of him?
anybody who criticizes his program.
He had some truth in there. It just probably didn't need to be said.
I mean, it's
the
easy
way
to
that
criticize his program when the
Just
people
say
that
it.
are criticizing the program don't have their product on the field. You know, I mean, I could sit here and criticize their program all I want, but I'm not down there running the program. I mean, you know, it's honestly like I honestly don't have a problem with that, to be honest with you, because the people that criticize a lot of coaches are the same people that aren't in the industry and they don't
Right.
do the
Or
job and they don't
anything.
do the, you know, everything that they have to do. You know, and the difference between Mike Gundy and guy criticizing is Mike Gundy gets paid to put his ideas and product on the field, and the guy criticizing does not. He gets to sit there and criticize. as much as he wants. So I don't know what the criticism came from. They're obviously not doing very well, but there are some points to this that Mike Gundy is making. I didn't really take too much back from what he had to say.
Well, here's what gets me on that a little bit. This is why I said I think he's a little bit out of touch. I mean, this is a guy who's had this job for quite some time.
Since 2005.
And there's a sense of entitlement when you've been in a job long enough. You've been in a job long enough, you start to believe that you are the job, that you, Mr. Gundy, are the job. So if you're not doing well as the head coach of the program, okay, what was it before? Don't come after a kid, come after me. Well, now they're coming after you. Well, you must be weak. You must be falling apart. You must be unable to pay your bills. You must be in financial hardship. You must be going to bed a failure, which is another thing he said. Or they could be criticizing your failure as a head coach, and maybe you need to win some more games. I understand both of your points and take the point that there is some truth in that. There is certainly some truth. I mean, we've experienced it on the other side.
Blaming people or
We're doing our job. Someone walks in and goes, "You're terrible at your job. You stink."
Yeah, we live in a society where a lot of people criticize other people's jobs all the time.
Completely. But I'm thinking maybe he hasn't had his particular chains rattled often enough in recent years to recognize what it is when you fail.
He can't be above criticism. His program can't be above criticism.
I understand that. It's probably a lot. I mean, with what he is doing. This is the first year he has a losing season. He's been there since 2005. And aside from 2005, his first year, where they went 4-7, he has had a winning year every single year since then. And when you've done things so well for a long time and you're not being able to click with that right now, I would imagine it'd be very difficult for you to handle some of that said criticism for a guy that's never had to deal with it before because they've always won. I mean, so I understand where he might be coming from on a little bit of that stuff, but he probably went a little bit too far with his anger on that.
And paying the bills.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
A little bit more of a rant there, but
he went a little personal there, for sure.
It is easy to criticize when your product's not on the field.
He's 0-6 in the Big 12. 0-6? I'm just looking back.
I'm telling you right now, he's winning on Saturday because I'll be at the game.
Oh, fair enough.
Like, not everyone.
Because he's not,
that is negative and voicing their opinions.
Nobody turns
can't pay their own bills, isn't taking care of themselves, and not taking care of their own family or their own job. Like, I would disagree there. That is not the
everyone.
case. Not everyone.
It's not everyone.
But
which you can use in every walk of
blaming and
life.
the whatnot, I think that's more probably our society.
Nobody gets a program turned around like Sonny Dykes.
That's it.
I can't believe he's been there since 2005.
That's a long time.
Yes.
He's never had a losing season.
Yeah,
I mean,
why fire him? Right.
He's an Oklahoma State alum. He played football there. He's never had a losing season. They've always been really good. I mean, a couple of years they've been like around 500, but he's gotten to so many bowl games. And it's just, he doesn't,
he's
but
not used to this,
he's part of the old regime, though. He's one of the last coaches of the old regime where, it's all about money in college football right now, and he's not a guy that's going to kiss a bunch of kids' asses, and they're not going to win anymore until they get somebody that's going to do that said job. So It might be the end of Gundy in the at Oklahoma State. You got to go get somebody that wants to go pay kids a bunch of money. Otherwise, they're going to leave.
Sometimes you just stay in a situation a little bit too long, and you get to a point where you think you're actually bigger than the situation itself. And that's what I heard in that. When you just take the big swing on everybody, anyone who he's 0-6. He's 0-6. I mean, yeah, I get it. What are the reporters supposed to do every week? Walk in and go, "Coach Gundy, let's go back to 2014. What a heck of a season you had. Hey, let's go back to 3 years ago. What a great win you had over Oklahoma. Hey, let's go talk about that big win you had over Baylor in 2011. I mean, they have to come in and they have to ask the questions every week. And when you lose 6 straight games in the conference when you were supposed to be the winner, maybe it's not because everybody who dislikes you can't pay their rent.
I didn't hear the question either. So
I'm looking at it on the Athletic, and it says, during his weekly availability, he took a hard left turn while discussing the trials of the disappointing season so far. It says, while diving into the reasons why Oklahoma State, ranked 17th in the nation before the year began, has struggled so mightily, Gundy went on an elongated rant that told angry fans and program critics to look in the mirror before pointing fingers.
Yeah, he doesn't like. He's probably tired of hearing all the noise from the fans about getting rid of him after one bad season.
Yeah, well,
Took it out. They just went on a rant.
well, he should have gotten a little bit hotter though, because then we would have had another amazing clip. That was a little too
I liked
measured.
his first one better.
His first one was way
a little
better.
too measured.
And he wasn't yelling at any reporters. He was just
know.
like talking about society.
He forgot to mention that some of his critics are mothers
That have
of children. Mothers of children.
I can't believe they're 0-6 though. Every time they lose every single week. They started the season 3-0.
Yeah.
But they've got TCU this week,
Yeah, they'll win.
so they've got a dub.
I'll watch.
Big dub coming.
This game will be close for no reason, and they'll pull it out. It's Sonny Dykes and
Big
company.
dub coming. TCU in the house. Got it.
Now that was Sonny Dykes. I'd be ripping him a new one because their program's awful right now.
All right, let's take a timeout. When we come
Is
back,
the Jenny that is that the same? I think that same reporter is still covering him.
it's the same one.
You guys are
from
missing
07?
you guys are missing the fact that it's Stillwater, Oklahoma. I mean, there's not a
Yes,
lot of
I
people
think
that
so.
roll
That's
through
fair.
that town.
That's fair.
That's crazy.
So now he's on Jenny's side.
Yes, now him and Jenny are friends. Yes, or they're not friends, but they respect each other. Like that is what used to happen back in the day. You'd have that kind of moment, and then they'd be like, "Okay, man, I respect you. You respect
This
me. Let's do
guy's
better
been-
next time." You know.
This guy's been dealing with
Not
Jenny
now.
for
Yes.
17 years. Of course, they're on the same page. They're probably neighbors.
He's a man. He's 57.
Stillwater is not that big of a place.
When we come back, it's time for Mind the Gap. This is today's silly game. Every day we play a silly game on the show for a great prize. And today we've got a pair of tickets to see comedian Tom Segura, his concert this Friday at Pechanga Arena. You can get tickets at AXS.com or you can be on the line now. First caller in will be taking me on head-to-head in Mind the Gap, the game of multi-generational trivia where you need to get a question right aimed at a boomer, a Generation Xer, a millennial, and a Gen Z. However, the second person who calls in is going to be rooting for me, is going to be the avatar. And if I win, the second person who calls in gets the tickets. If the person who calls in first wins, they get the tickets. So somebody's getting Tom Segura tickets at the end of our next segment either way. Time to give us a call. 833-288-0973 is our phone number. 833-288-0973. Give us a ring during the break. Braden will screen you up, and we will play Mind the Gap next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings is football. Hey, San Diego sports fans, head to your local Buffalo Wild Wings. Try their new maple chipotle sauce for rich maple sweetness and a mild smoky chipotle heat. Or for a bit more of a kick, check out the new Cajun sauce for a rich blend of spicy and tangy pepper sauce. Stop by your San Diego B-Dubs or order now for takeout and delivery. Buffalo Wild Wings, go.
Go.
Go. Go. It's time for us to go to Silly Games. Don't have to live like a refugee.
I don't really know the words
You
for
don't?
that one.
You don't.
I
have
clearly just
to live like a
refugee.
refugee. Don't have to live like a refugee. There you go. Silly Games time. Today's silly game, the game of multi-generational trivia known as Mind the Gap. We had folks call in during the break, and today's contestant is Ira in San Diego. Hello, Ira. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys.
It's great to have you
Ira.
here, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we play the game.
Sure. I'm kind of from your neck of the woods there, La Mesa, East San Diego. And
Nice.
been here since 2 years old, and I just turned 65, so I've been here a minute. And you guys have evolved into something. It's been neat watching the show evolve, and you guys get your rhythm, and it's kind of been neat to follow that. And I'm facing my own fear factor in doing this. I just hope you appreciate that.
Well,
Thanks,
Ira, we
Ira.
appreciate you deeply. I'll try to forget a question or something along the way.
I'll try to help you.
Yeah, so thank you, and thank you for the kind words. Now, Ira, if you beat me in the game of Mind the Gap today, you're going to be getting a pair of tickets to see Tom Segura at Pechanga Arena this Friday. Very funny comedian. However, I am still going to try to play and win. And if I win today, Dexter in Spring Valley is standing by on the line as today's avatar. Hi, Dexter. How are you?
I guess my fate is in your hands.
That is correct, sir. Your fate is in my hands, so I hope I do well for you, Dexter.
Well, may the force be with you.
Fair enough. All right. Stay right there on hold. You've got the easiest job in radio, just to sit there and think positive thoughts for me. Okay, Ira, here's how the game works. It's very straightforward. Braden Soprendit is our quiz master. He's got 4 different decks of trivia cards. Okay, one of them is for boomers. One of them is for Generation X. One of them is for millennials. And the final is for Generation Z. You get to go first, and then we will alternate going back and forth. And you are going to pick one of those decks. Braden will read you a question, and if you get it right, you've cleared the category. You are done. If you get it wrong, I do have the chance to jump in and steal unless I've cleared that category myself. You have the same opportunity. If I get one wrong in a category you haven't cleared, you have the chance to steal and grab it. The only other rule you need to know, Ira, is that you have 2 lifelines in this game. One time you can ask Annie for help. One time you can ask Braden for help. They're usually good in letting you know if they know the answer to the question to make your lifeline useful. I do have the same opportunity as well. Does it all make sense?
It does, and if I embarrass myself, it's all your fault.
That's fair. But Dexter will be happy. So you can at least take solace in that your pain would be someone else's joy. Okay, Ira,
you go.
good luck to you, buddy. You get to go first. Which category would you like? Boomer, Gen X, I almost said Milwaukee. Millennial, or Gen Z?
Oh, heck, I don't know. Let's do millennial.
All right.
All right, millennial. Do you want to do TV and film, pop culture, music, headlines, or slang?
Let's do music, please.
All right, music it is. Sir Mix-a-Lot's smash hit called out Cosmopolitan.
Baby Got Back.
All right, yep, ready to go.
Whoa.
Baby Got Back is correct.
That was it.
That was it.
Oh my gosh, Ira.
You didn't go. You don't get an extra point for jumping in before the
Great
question's
job,
over.
though.
But nonetheless, ding!
Yeah.
Millennial is done for Ira. Excellent job. That's hilarious. I mean, that's what I figured. That's what I figured it was too. Okay, I'll go Gen X. I'll try and clear a home game here.
All right, Gen X. You want to stick with music?
Sure.
What brother-sister duo sang, I'm a little bit country, I'm a little bit rock and roll?
Donnie Osmond, Donnie Marie Osmond.
It's my
I
turn.
love that Ira knows
Oh,
the
sorry.
one. He just puts in there.
Hey, you know what, Brandon? I'm going to go with Donnie and Marie Osmond. That's the answer for that one.
Ira, you are great.
And now it's 1-1, but Ira's actually up 2-0. Ira, back to you. You've got Boomer, Gen X, or Gen Z?
Let's do, who knows, Gen Z, I guess.
Okay. It's clearing the young side early.
You want to change your deal? Or do you want to stick with music?
I don't know. Gosh, I guess let's stick with music. It's been okay so far.
All right, what band decided no more counting dollars, but instead will be counting stars?
Oh my gosh. No clue. Not even a clue.
Oh,
I know it.
I know. Okay, Braden, what
Braden
is
knows it.
Braden, I'm going to use you as a lifeline.
All right, Craig. One Republic.
Yeah, that's right.
One Republic. One Republic. And I steal Gen Z. Okay, it's 2-1, and I've got the ball, and I'm going to go Boomer.
Boomer.
All right, Ira, if you know it, wait quietly because you might get the chance to steal. Don't jump it out. Okay, go ahead.
In the 1960s, the term righteous meant A, holy and pure, B, scary, C, fantastic.
C, fantastic.
Fantastic
Righteous Brother.
is correct.
And then there was a band called the Righteous Brothers, but that's completely different. All right, Ira, you want Boomer, Gen X, or Gen Z?
Let's do Boomer, please.
Let's go.
All right. What actress starred in 1967's Wait Until Dark about a blind woman terrorized by criminals searching her home for illegal drugs?
Yikes.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm going to just guess Lee Remick.
Nope.
Oh, I don't know the answer either, even though I couldn't steal. Who was it?
Audrey Hepburn.
Audrey Hepburn. Well, I can win the game with a millennial answer, and I'm going to endeavor to do so right now and get Dexter those tickets.
All right. What category?
Slang.
Slang.
I love
Name the
slang.
movie. I'm kind of psychic. I have a fifth sense. It's like I have ESPN or something.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, I know that, too. Super bad. I don't know.
Nope.
Dang it. Who is it?
Well, does Ira get to steal?
He's already cleared millennial.
Oh.
Annie knows it. Do you?
I don't want to help Craig right now.
Yeah, but he
I already got it wrong.
You
I'm
already got it
done.
wrong.
Mean Girls.
Mean Girls is correct.
I don't think I ever saw Mean Girls. All right, Ira, back to you. You're still alive.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally ended in the game. Boomer, would you like Boomer still? Want to go Boomer again?
What are the other options?
Gen X, Gen Z.
I think we haven't tried X yet, so what the heck? Let's do X.
Exit out.
This 1983 thriller starred Matthew Broderick as a teenager who started a game of global thermonuclear war by accidentally hacking into a military supercomputer.
I can be your lifeline if you need it.
Please be my lifeline, Craig.
War games.
War games.
I never saw that movie.
Never saw that?
No.
Would you like to play a game? I saw that in the theaters.
Wow.
When I was, what did you say, 1983? When I was
1983.
11.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that when I was 11. All right, I got another chance to win. Millennial, let's do it.
Millennial.
This is for you, Dexter. I'm going to get it right.
Who starred as Willy Wonka in the 2005 Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp is correct.
Ira, I dare say you've been one of our most fun contestants.
Ira, if it was me, I would have given you the tickets.
But
Oh,
Annie-
you guys are awesome. Dexter, congratulations.
Ira, we hope you'll call in for a future silly game. Maybe
Please.
be a match game contestant. I think you'd be great
You'd
at
be
that.
great at match game.
I think you'd be terrific at it. We're going to keep our eyes out for you the next time you call in, okay, buddy?
You got it. Thank you guys for being so nice.
You
Thanks,
bet.
Ira.
Thank you, Ira.
Congrats to Dexter.
Meanwhile, here's Dexter. Just chilling. Going to
Hey,
Tom
Craig?
Segura. Yeah.
I'm going to follow Annie's advice. And if you still have Ira on the line, go ahead and pass it to him.
Oh, wow. How about that? Well, I just hung up on him. But
Oh.
So he's going to have to call
Ira,
back.
call back. Dexter wants to give you the tickets. How nice.
Yeah, and
You're a
and,
kind
and
guy.
don't forget to thank Annie.
Dexter, that's so nice of you. Look, kindness.
Kindness goes a long
That's
way.
really nice of you, Dexter. You should call back too, though, and play games so you can win too.
Well, yeah. I mean, Dexter's been a regular.
Yeah,
Appreciate
he's won
you,
before,
man.
hasn't he?
I don't know.
Oh,
I have
well, I
no
hope you
idea.
win,
I should keep
Dexter, too.
stats, I guess.
I'd
I should
give
probably,
everyone tickets.
Should probably
So.
keep stats.
Okay.
All right. Well, Ira, did you hear
Thanks,
that?
Dexter.
Man, I hope you heard that, Ira. Call back. Dexter wants to give you the tickets. Fun game of Mind the Gap. We're back with hour number 4 of Annie and Elsten. Talking baseball after this. Welcome back to the show. Hour number 4 of Annie and Elsten here with you. Happy Election Day, everybody. Hopefully everyone can find their way to the polls if you have not, or drop in your ballot. And have a good evening this evening. I will not be partaking in the media.
Oh, I thought you meant in the voting.
I'm voting. I mean, I've already done that.
Yes.
That's taken care of.
Yes, the 3 of us have already voted ahead of today. So
yeah. It's good news, Yeah. I like to physically drop my ballot off as opposed to putting it in the mail. So that's what I do, is I just bring it to a polling place.
Now it's like they
off.
give you a notification. It's like your ballot has been picked up and then your ballot has been registered. But I know it's still not the same as like actually dropping it in.
Yeah, it's meaningless. I trust the system. I trust the mail. But nonetheless, there's something about seeing it go into the the box, the secure box, and you're like, okay, it's in there.
You're like,
I know.
I saw it with my own 2 eyes.
Precisely. Straight to the registrar for you. Send it off to the registrar. So hopefully everyone has a productive evening. Like I said, I made this choice 3 cycles ago, and I did not regret it last cycle, which was to just unplug, completely unplug. They're going to count. At the end, the count will be done, and then there will be winners in all the races. Every race will have a winner by the end of the week or thereabouts. And
a lot like sports.
Right. But the difference between sports is that, like, people actually score touchdowns, you know what I mean? Or hit baskets. And so it's worth watching before the score. But here it's something being counted. So you don't watch that. So I don't need to know with 37% reporting or whether this county hasn't turned in that ballot yet. Like, you're going to finish. You're going to finish. It's going to be done. And then let me know. Let me know who wins. White smoke, black smoke, like they do with the Pope. Just light the candle and we'll know and we'll all move on. And tomorrow we'll be here talking sports with you. Either way.
Well, tonight, like Braden said, there's not a whole plethora of things to watch on TV, but you could also go back and do like a little Media Melanie or
That's
Friday Crossing Streams recommendation. I did one of those recently. I know Media Melanie because I remember her saying matzo ballers. So I swear she recommended this show, but it was, God, I don't know the name of it. Jeez, I almost cursed just now.
Good filters. Glad test those filters, make sure they're still working.
Nobody Wants This. Nobody Wants This was the
go.
name of the show. And it was pretty funny.
You liked it?
Oh, it was funny.
Maybe that'll be because that's what I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to binge a show.
It was pretty funny.
Tonight. I finished The Diplomat over the weekend, and you'll be hearing about that on Friday's segment.
I can do Zendaya. I haven't done hers yet.
There you go.
Watch that one tonight. So
Challengers. That'll be fun. That'll be a fun one. Yeah, I'll let you know what show I wind up binging tomorrow when we get back in. When we're all gathered back together. Not a lot happening in sports tonight, so...
Little college basketball, right? A little hockey.
Yeah.
You can watch some hockey.
I'm sure we can contrive a segment out of talking about hockey tomorrow, right?
No.
No? No? Maybe not? Okay. Well, maybe at the baseball meetings they'll do something. I doubt it, but maybe. Here's something we didn't get to earlier in the show. The complete list of qualifying offers. Yesterday they were starting to trickle out. And on yesterday's show, we also talked about Gerrit Cole and his whole nonsense back and forth. We did that at 10 a.m. as well. If you want to go back and hear that, you can find it on YouTube. You can find it on the Odyssey app. You can find it on the podcast, which is broken down hour by hour. We didn't get to in that discussion the qualifying offers. There were 13 total qualifying offers given out yesterday. One of them shocked me. Nick Martinez. Nick Martinez got a qualifying offer from the Reds. This is the same guy who, 3 years in a row has been out on the market, right? Was signed by the Padres, then the Padres again, then the Reds. Each time he has been in a situation where he's been a swing man for the team that employs him. Each time the team that employed him told him he was going to be a starter and then wound up being a swing man for the team. But Nick had a good year. I don't know why this year would make him that much more valuable in the market than previous years.
Yeah, he was scheduled, so he made $14 million in 2024 with his 2-year contract with the Reds, and he was slated to make $12 million in 2025 if he didn't opt out. So I guess he feels he can get more than the $12 million because he did opt out, or maybe more of a multi-year deal that, this would be his last year with Cincinnati if he stayed. But yeah, I mean, look, he spent most of the year in the bullpen again. He had a 1.86 ERA over 53 1/3 innings, returned to the rotation for the final 2 months of the season. That stint went better than the first stint in the rotation. He's always been a bet on yourself guy, Nick Martinez.
Yeah.
So whenever he gets the chance, I think he takes it.
Well, this year, he should take the offer.
So how much he
in
would
my
get?
opinion.
How much?
He'd get a
would-
$7 million raise.
Yeah.
Or 9, because you said he was set for
He was
12.
set to make 12 this season. I think he should take it too.
I mean, I'm telling you, he might get $9 million more guaranteed, but that would probably be over a 2-3 year deal.
Well, and maybe that is the draw with that. Like, he doesn't want to have to wait another year to try to get more of a multi-year deal, which might not be guaranteed to him next year, or he might not. He might not have a good year, so it might not be as available to him.
I'd take the offer. I don't think anyone is going to pay Nick Martinez $21 million a year anywhere else.
Right, but if he could get like a 3-year something or other, right?
Yeah. And that's possible that someone gives him.
34.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, are you really
It's hard to
betting on
turn
Nick
that
Martinez's age 37 season? Is anyone really willing to bet on his age 37 season? I think it's 1 year at a time with this guy. So you've just been given the golden ticket, $21 million.
How
Most
long
money
do
you'll
they
ever
get
make.
to take up the qualifying offer?
That's a good question.
I don't know. Is there like a deadline for the qualifying?
Here comes
for
AI to the rescue
MLB.
right now. No?
I don't know. I need to look.
At some point,
Yeah.
you do reject
There
it.
has to be a.
I don't think. I think you could negotiate with other teams while still having that as an open question.
Yes.
But I'm not sure.
I'm not
So,
sure. We'll
Okay.
have to figure that out.
Nonetheless, I would suggest he takes it. Meanwhile, other guys, Sean Manaea. Sean Manaea, that's got to be pretty much on the line for him because Sean Manaea has been getting $12 and then $14 million, and he's getting offered 1 year, $21 million. There we go. Shota in the chat for the rescue. 4 p.m. November 19th, the deadline for qualifying
Thank you,
offers.
Shota. So not that far away. A few weeks here to decide.
Yeah, 2 weeks. You got 2 weeks to make a call.
It's not like you to get until spring training or something. Right.
2 weeks, make a call, take it or leave it. Makes sense. Sean Manaea probably can get more than $20 million guaranteed in a multi-year contract. But again, I don't think anyone will pay him a $20 million average annual value. So I kind of feel like that one's on the fence for Sean Manaea. If he took the QO, came back to New York, full season on the Chris Sale 2/3 arm slot delivery, and he racks up 200 strikeouts and 16 wins, he can go out there and get big money the next year.
Yes, but he's got Scott Boras as his agent, and I feel like they will go out there and shop him as one of the. It's not a huge starting pitcher market.
Yeah.
As hey, we can go get a good, big, nice, fat deal for you, multi-year for that one.
Probably true. These players will definitely turn down their QOs. Juan Soto obviously will turn down his qualifying offer.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
It'd be hilarious.
He took it.
Just like, oh, I'll take $20 million.
It's like, I'm good with the qualifying offer. We'll do it again next year.
And then Scott Boras fires him as his client. Like it usually goes the other way around, but he's like, screw you, man. You just took $40 million out of my pocket. Oh, that'd be hilarious. Corbin Burns is going to turn it down.
Yes.
Alex Bregman is going to turn it down. He's 34. He could maybe come back to Houston for 1 year, but I think he'll probably turn it down. Max Fried will definitely turn it down. Willie Adames is going to sign with the Dodgers very soon. Pete Alonso will turn it down. Anthony Santander will turn it down. Teoscar Hernandez will turn it down. That would be actually a pay cut if he took the qualifying offer. Nick Pivetta, I have no idea why the Red Sox offered him. I would take it if I was Nick Pivetta. 21. No one's going to give him $21 million on the open market. Nobody. Christian Walker likely to turn it down. And another guy who I think should pick up the offer is Luis Severino. He got paid $13 million last year. Now he's being offered 21 on a one-year strike by the Mets. I'd take it. I'd take it if I was him. So some interesting decisions being made there on some kind of medium grade pitchers in terms of Martinez, Minaya, Severino. These were all the $14 million class pitchers last year, and now they're all being offered a $7 million raise to stick around.
And if you take it and you accept the qualifying offer, and you're kind of betting on yourself a little bit there too, in the sense of I will have a good season and then hit free agency again next year, but we'll have earned a really good paycheck this year, and then hopefully still be able to go out and get your multi-year deal. Now, what you never really are totally sure of is A, if you're going to have the season that you want to have, and B, if the market is going to, where you're going to fit in the market for that year and what the needs are for the other clubs. But there's some here that I think, are kind of on the fence. No one accepted their qualifying offer last year, so this would be a new one this year if someone does.
Yeah. I just think it's, each class is different.
For sure. Yes.
And this one has a couple of mid-30s starters that are being given a lot of smoke for the year that they had. And I kind of feel like maybe that number's a little over their talent line.
Yeah.
That's just what I'm looking at. And that's no diss on Nick Martinez. Nick Martinez is a good pitcher, but come on. He hasn't anchored anyone's rotation since he's come back from Japan.
And in C. Trent Rosecrans of The Athletic writes that if he does accept the qualifying offer, the Reds can cross off an item on their offseason wish list, veteran starter. Unlike a season ago when Martinez was in a spring training battle to make the rotation, a return to the Reds would see him in the rotation along with Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott, Nick Lodolo, and likely Rhett Loader. So maybe this gives Nick what he wants. Hey, you get to come back to the starting rotation. You get to make a really good salary for this year, and maybe you set yourself up to then go out and try for a year or two after that in free agency.
Yeah. When I think about where the Padres are with their starting rotation, and then I think about where the salary cap line is, or the competitive balance tax line is, and where the Padres' number is, and where their payroll is, I keep coming back to this. You got Michael King. You got Dylan Cease.
Yu Darvish.
You got Yu Darvish. You got Matt Waldron. You got Randy Vasquez. That's a 5-man rotation right there. Mm-hmm. Pre-locked in. Set cost, right? King gets more expensive. Cease gets more expensive, but it's arbitration. You've got a real general idea of where those guys are going to be. It's probably going to cost about $20 to $22 million for the two of them. Next year. Yu's locked in. He gets 21 next year. Doesn't matter. Waldron and Vasquez will get $800,000.
I think that they'll still try to find another pitcher or two. And I don't know if they're looking at Vasquez and Waldron as being permanent throughout the year solutions. You know what I mean? Or maybe even trying to get another pitcher and making it a 6-man rotation if they can. So I think that they'll try to get a little creative with that rotation and see if they can get a little bit more help. But yeah, you already have. You have the bones of it for sure.
Yeah.
Darvish, even without Musgrove, Darvish, King, and Cease being your three. Is a really good start. Even without, obviously you want Joe Musgrove in there, but even without him, you've got 3 very good pitchers, starting pitchers. And then I think Randy Vasquez hopefully takes another step after the year that he came off last year. Matt Waldron, hopefully too, maybe a little bit more consistency. And then if they're able to get in a guy or two that competes with Matt Waldron or Randy Vasquez for those jobs, maybe you can also get a little creative with that rotation, or even just find a better pitcher at some point. Who knows? So they're in a decent spot for their rotation.
I think so too. And I feel like we've kind of come into this free agent discussion or offseason discussion, and everyone is just thrown up there as accepted. Well, the Padres need to get 2 starters. Like, they just have to get 2 starters. Mm-hmm. Explain to me how. Explain to me how they get 2 starters at market rate on this team.
I think you're going to have to look for another type of, Martin Perez wants to stay with the team. What that number is to keep him, and whether they decide to keep him after not using him during the postseason, probably not, I guess. I guess I'd lean more towards that relationship maybe is over. But you need someone like that, right? That's who you're looking at. You're looking at people who are not going to break the bank. And then you're probably needing to make some moves beyond that, I guess, to let go of some payroll. But where?
Well, right. Who are you going to trade? Are you going to move a rise? Are you going to? We just did a segment in the 11 a.m. hour on Xander Bogaerts. That contract is as immobile as any contract in sports.
They're going to need a left fielder. So say they don't bring back Jerkson Profar. Say they don't bring back Luis Arraez. Or no, Luis Arraez is still with them. So say they trade. I don't know. You'd have to, if you trade, you'd have to get something back that's helping you on your team, or that you can flip for a good haul back or something. Yeah. But you still need someone to play left field.
Yes, you do. And that's more important than getting an upgrade starter over Randy Vasquez, probably. I'm not saying that the Padres can roll to the playoffs with Randy Vasquez as their 33-start guy. However, I'm not sure that that's not the case. He's 25. He pitched pretty well this year, and he could theoretically improve, having had a year of service in Major League Baseball and having had the 15 or so starts that he had this year. It's not to say that he couldn't get better and pitch to a sub-4 ERA for the Padres and then be exactly what they need, 150 innings of sub-4 ERA that cost less than $1 million.
And I don't think that Preller, from what we know about him, will force something. More likely, if he finds a deal and the player he wants, he'll jump on it if they can make this work with whatever else they're doing. If not, I see him doing something similar to what he did this year. Hey, being creative, trying to work something out maybe at the end of spring training, or some GM who he can, make a deal with maybe again in the beginning of the season like he did with the Marlins. I don't know if you should bet on that for every year, but maybe he can work something out. Who knows? Or you make a move at the deadline if they're so inclined.
The big difference is just Joe Musgrove's not going on the restricted list. You're going to pay him $20 million not to pitch next year.
Yeah.
So.
Nor should he, though. I mean, you can't expect him to go.
Of course not. Of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not. I'm just making that point. Last year, Yu Darvish literally moved out of the way, took $4 or so million fewer dollars on his deal voluntarily, and stayed away from the facility, and that helped the Padres stay under the line when all was said and done. Joe ain't doing that, nor should he, nor would anyone expect him to. But my point being is we're not the Dodgers. We don't get $350 million rolling in the door from TV where just, $20 million guy, just go sit over there in the corner. Don't worry about it. We'll get another $30 million guy to replace him. As much as I would love to see Blake Snell, dally with the Padres and have them do a little dance, and have them try and find common ground. I just can't see it. I just can't see a big money expenditure when you can look right over there on the backfields at Peoria and you can go Waldron on a mound, Vasquez on a mound, Brito on a mound.
They'll still need some kind of depth, something, right? What if someone gets injured? What if
Sure.
Yeah.
So sign Martin Perez.
Right. That's what I think. I think you already have someone in the system that likes being here and that you liked enough and that helped you enough. He already knows you're not going to use him in the postseason, so whatever, use him throughout the year.
Right.
But I don't know what his number now is this year, and maybe they're even trying to stay under that. Maybe I don't think it'd be that high, but maybe they're even trying to stay lower than what that could be. Or
Adam, our boss in the chat, says it, and you've heard us say it too. The biggest question this year is the Padres' relationship with the competitive balance tax. What are they going to do? If they are trying to stay under, gang, I hate to break it to you, if they're trying to stay under, the Padres cannot bring back even close to the same team as last year. It means no Profar, trade Arraez or trade Cease or trade King or trade two of the three in order to fill the holes that would still keep you underneath the tax, because they're already at or over the tax based on Fangraph's evaluation.
Yeah, it makes me think that, and we talked about this, the three of us, before, where they can keep a payroll that is more in line with what they've done last year while still going above the luxury tax. And if you go above the luxury tax, your penalty, I forget what it is, but it's low. It's
20%.
You're only taxed on the overages. So
correct.
It's not going to be this insane amount, So maybe you decide, hey, if you're the Padres and you're still sticking to, we're keeping our payroll closer to what we had last year than what we had in 2023. You can still go over the first tier, the apron, and not have it like blow you up.
Right. If you went a full $20 million over the CBT first apron it costs the Padres $4 million. That's the cost. Yeah. It's $4 million.
Now, if you're the Padres, you probably want to take that $4 million and put it somewhere else, but it might not be realistic for them to be able to do that.
It might not be realistic for them to have the type of team they want to have staying under the number. It's going to take some real it's going to take cutting bone, not just muscle, you know. So what I would like to see personally is for them to say, no, we're spending over. Like 2025 is an important year, and we're going to spend over. And in doing so, we understand DeVries is coming, Salas is coming, some cheaper players are coming down the road. We're going to find ways. We're going to stay creative. We're going to look at trades. We're going to do all the things that we can do. But look, Manny gets paid what he gets paid. Toddy gets paid what he gets paid. Bogart's you can't move that deal. So those debts and obligations stay with you the entire decade. You've got to find a way to be creative. Last little point, we're going to break. Martin Perez got an $8 million one-year deal last year with Pittsburgh. So he pitched aight. You know, I can't imagine him getting too much more than that.
I can't either. Age, he's 33. I mean, that's probably around what he would get again this year.
I would think so.
So, can they afford that? I would hope so. Can the Padres afford
an $8 million pitcher?
I hope so, but
an $8 million fifth starter, basically.
A guy that can be a workhorse for you. And I mean, and you get a lefty in the rotation, which I do think they need.
I tend to agree. And a guy who, you know, has pitched a decent innings load overall. I mean, last year, 135. The year before, 141. The year before that, 196 in an all-star. But that was a different story altogether. All right, let's take a timeout. We're overdue for it, actually. When we come back, Sean Lewis, head coach of San Diego State, not coming on the show, but talking yesterday, defending his field. He's ready to play in the sandbox on Saturday.
This was a great lead in the story, which we will break down.
Yes,
with Sean Lewis talking about this. Yes,
our agricultural friend, Sean Lewis, but not a grass grower. Important to note. We'll get into that when we come back. Andy and Elsten go until the top of the hour right here on 97.3 The Fan. All right, football fans, listen up. If you need that extra edge for game day, then you need to cash the ticket. It's the podcast for football junkies with new episodes every Thursday and Friday. Mike Valenti and Jim Costa breaking down the biggest matchups and finding the best value on the board every single week. Cash the Ticket, the podcast to help you bet smarter on both pro and college games. Follow Cash the Ticket on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Annie and Elsten back here with you. Real quick, I did tease the Sean Lewis Snapdragon Stadium story. We're going to get to that in just a second. It's not exactly a news story per se, but Buster Posey, now the president of baseball operations for the Giants, did an interview, or probably a scrum, at the GM meetings, which you told me the location and I already forgot.
San Antonio.
Thank you, San Antonio. And Shayna Rubin is the San Francisco Chronicle Giants beat writer and tweeted that in said scrum, Posey announced the Giants are looking for a shortstop.
Oh.
Said Tyler Fitzgerald did a good job there last year, but he could play multiple positions. Said Marco Luciano is probably going to move to the outfield to try and get his bat right, but specifically noted shortstop. And we've said since the beginning of last year that Ha-Seong Kim would sign with the Giants to play shortstop and be with his longtime friend Jung-Hoo Lee.
Can the Giants withstand him probably rehabbing to April, May, June?
They could just play Fitzgerald at short until then.
They have an option that they can utilize. Exactly. They can do it with what they already did. Look, if they have the money and they're able to do it, and I think that they probably can figure out a way to make this deal work, I just don't see why, unless they don't want Ha-Seong Kim, but if they do, I just don't see why Ha-Seong Kim wouldn't go sign with his brother-in-law and his best friend and Bob Melvin.
Yeah.
So
it's
right.
Let's just go ahead and write it in. That's what's going to happen. He's going to sign with the Giants, and we'll see him for years. And you know what? Maybe you'll look across the field. Some of the folks who've tried to pick every little nit in Ha-Seong Kim's game, maybe you'll look across the field and you'll say, you know what? We let a pretty darn good shortstop, go to a deal and see him hitting seventh in the lineup for the Giants, and figure that in a late inning pressure situation, you can put a 97-mile-an-hour fastball past Ha-Seong Kim, and that you'll be able to get him out in key divisional matchups down the road. I kind of lean toward that side of it. He's one of my favorite players. He's definitely a flawed player. He doesn't have a perfect resume. He doesn't have a perfect skill set. Nonetheless, I think he's a perfect fit in San Francisco.
I think that for him, to have a little bit of comfort with his best friend there and his brother-in-law, like I mentioned, and knowing Bob Melvin, that's what you would want when you're making a big jump. I mean, it was such an acclamation for him to come from Korea to the Padres. And, it's very difficult then now to learn a whole new place and a whole new organization. But it keeps him on the West Coast. It keeps him in the same division, keeps him with people he knows. So like I said, if the Giants want him, I would think that this would be something he would be in favor of. Now, again, he's got Boras. I hope that works out well for Ha-Seong Kim. I really do, because he's a good dude, a good player, and you don't want Boras to kind of be a problem in this. But I don't know what the Boras wrench does. I'm not sure what that actually what happens with that. But look, Ha-Seong Kim did a great job for the Padres. He really did, and he grew a lot as a player. Didn't have his best year this year, but there's still high upside for him in the future. Or there can be. There's a potential for that for sure. He's a hard worker.
Yeah, and I see Abraham in the chat talking about, well, it's the Dodgers or the Giants. Sorry to be Kreskin over here, just like saying things that are going to happen before they happen. But the Dodgers are going to sign Willy Adames.
I think so, too.
They're going to sign Willy Adames.
The Brewers have already come out and said, we don't know if we have the money to keep him.
Correct.
And we would love to. And he said, I would like to stay with the Brewers. And Willy Adames said, I will take a pay cut as long as the deal is still fair to stay with the Brewers. But
that's the sticking point.
I don't know if
fairness.
as long as it's nothing like that's just kind of like insulting almost, and I don't know that the Brewers are going to be able to come up with that. Just read a big article I was talking about from the Cardinals beat writer Gerrit Cole, who does a great job talking about the TV money and how it's affecting them, and then they were talking about the Brewers and the Twins, and I think that's going to be a big sticking point going forward for these teams.
Yeah. And just once Adames is off the board, Kim is so obviously the next best choice. And honestly, if the Giants are looking for shortstops, once Adames is off the board, once Kim is off the board, you are talking about not anything really that much better than Tyler Fitzgerald. So.
Yeah, and if you're Ha-Seong Kim, get this done. I mean, if once Adames is off the board, you want to get this done. You know, if you know you want to be with the Giants and the Giants already are of interest in you, you just want to get it done and move on, right? You don't want this to linger into spring training.
Switching now to a follow-up to a story we did yesterday. We talked about honestly, I don't think it's hyperbolic to say appalling condition of the field at Snapdragon Stadium. This has nothing to do with the stadium itself, with the seating, with the concessions, the lights, the sound, all the other aspects of the stadium, the Jumbotron, everything else, dynamite. Snapdragon Stadium, dynamite. Folks who run it do a great job. They don't take care of the field. That's not their job. That job goes to a third party that San Diego State contracts called the Oakview Group, the same group that pitched them on building an arena right next to Snapdragon Stadium, same group that built that arena at University of Texas at Austin. Well, they are in charge of the field. They made a choice in September to take out the previous field and to install Kentucky bluegrass, and that failed. It just completely failed. The grass never took. It was very, very hot right after they installed the grass. That led to some of the grass dying. Then the football season started, and these big gouges were taken out of the field. And you'd come back a week later, and again, I did PA this year, have done PA the last 3 years for the Wave. So you'd come back 2 weeks later, and it looked worse. Like, it looked worse, and there was not a game played in between. So this field has just been deteriorating. It has just gone from bad to worse than that over the course of the last 3 months. And, of course, the Wave, which was the story we covered yesterday, were forced by their league to abandon their last home match and to play on the road and to give up the gate, to give up the revenue, the concessions, everything else, to eat it, to just lose that money because the nature of the field was so bad. Also, that they had been fined over and over by the league for the quality of the field. Okay, well, San Diego State, of course, is the ultimate owner-operator of Snapdragon Stadium. So they're going to put the best foot forward from Montezuma Mesa when it comes to their park. New Mexico is in town Friday to take on the Aztecs. Sean Lewis was asked yesterday about the field, which leads to what you were just kind of talking about before the break, Andy, in terms of Kirk Kenney's lead.
Yeah.
Lewis has agricultural degree, but he's green when it comes to grass.
He can talk about carrots, corn, cranberries, snap beans, but he probably knows about the transpiring potatoes.
Yes.
Oh, wait, was that the
corn,
potatoes? The corn.
The sweating corn.
The sweating corn. Like, Sean Lewis probably knows all about that. But actual grass was not part of his degree. That's a different degree.
Different degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, groundskeeping.
But if they do need any crops, any growing of crops, Snapdragon Stadium, he's your guy. So it's funny, though, the quote from him in this story from Kirk Kenney, he said, quote, "The plan has been laid in front of me about irrigation, sod, fertilization, growth tarps, everything else. Sounds good." He's like, I know I have an agricultural journalism degree, but I couldn't tell you how to grow grass. I'm going to leave that to the experts. But he says he's not worried. You look, what
else is he going to say?
Yeah, exactly.
What else is he going to say?
He's got to.
This is the real quote from this Kirk Kenney story. It's from SDSU senior cornerback Bryce Phillips. He says, quote, "It has to be an advantage for us at this point. We know what we're going into. We know what we have to do. Planting off of 1 foot, it's going to be slippery, so you've got to plant off that correct foot. As an offense, New Mexico's not going to be ready for it." So basically they're saying our field is so bad that we can actually use it to our advantage because we know that we're running in a sandbox, whereas the Lobos are going to show up and they're going to be confused and angry because they're running in a sandbox.
Well, they might have seen the media attention leading up to it, so they might know something. But yeah, no, it's a good quote from him. I mean, I appreciate Bryce Phillips. giving something specific there. Like they have to think of this specifically as a player because guess what? His foot slips, his leg slips. He risks potential injury right there. He risks missing the rest of the season if it's the wrong, angle or the wrong wrong way that the surface gives. The article also says that players decide for themselves what footwear they wear, but they've switched many of them from molded cleats to screw-in cleats because that gives them better footing. Mm-hmm. So they're definitely making adjustments for this field that is, not as great as they would hope.
I mean, they're saying the right things because they have to be good company soldiers. I swear to you, Sean Lewis is not happy with the state of his field.
I mean, they're also saying that there's something wrong with the field by saying that they're making adjustments for it. So
right,
they're saying
exactly.
it without saying it. Yeah.
And look, Nate in the chat says, at risk of sounding like a jerk, how hard is it really to grow grass? I mean, listen, not as hard as they're making it out to be is the first part of it, because obviously plenty of stadia get this exactly right and have great pitches. However, Braden really brought up the carrying point on this yesterday. We're trying to find out as a city if one stadium can support, what is it going to be, like 18 to 20 MLS matches and a very similar number of NWSL matches and 8 football games and however many Legion rugby matches there are, and a dozen or so of those, and that all of those things can coexist on the same pitch over the course of the summer. And I think it's an open question where my answer right now would be lean strongly no, but they've got months to and now literally weeks to figure out how to make this happen before somebody turns an ankle for San Diego FC and an Egyptian billionaire loses his mind.
Yeah, and I mean, the Aztecs are doing the right thing in this article in terms of there's not much more they can say. This is their program. They want it obviously to succeed, and I think the players are being classy in terms of how they're answering questions when they're asked about it, which is always a tough position for any of them. So I think they're being honest about it there, which is good. But look, it's funny from a reason, it's not funny. It's not funny at all. But from if you didn't know anything and you were just looking at a headline and you lived across the country and it was San Diego has difficulty growing grass, or whatever. Yeah. It's just such a great San Diego story.
When we come back, it's our final segment of the show, and it's time to ask us anything. Let's open up the phone lines right now. You've got 10 minutes to call the program. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Give us a call anytime in the next 10 minutes. If you get thrown on hold without somebody picking you up, don't panic. That means you're in line, and we will get you on the air. Only request we have, it's a very simple request, is that you have a question ready to ask the program when you call us in. Ask Us Anything is next, and then it's Gwynn and Chris at 2 o'clock on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Final few minutes of today's show. Thanks for being here today. If you missed any of the program, well, you can find it. The YouTube show just pops up as an archive as soon as the program's over. So you can go back and sort your way through 4 hours of Annie and Elsten. Of course, we are also a podcast available for you on all of your streaming platforms, chopped up hour by hour, in addition to the full show. So if you missed any part of it, go back and check it out. We've got about 3-4 minutes left if you want to call the show. 833-288-0973 is our phone number, 833-288-0973. If you want to give us a ring, we'll play the bumper and we will take your calls. And if not, we'll figure out the next 5 minutes on our own.
I'm learning a lot about grass in the chat.
Yeah, what are you learning?
Well, Eddie tells me this was always a dicey time of the year for field conditions at Jack Murphy Stadium. The Bermuda grass grows dormant, and the perennial ryegrass overseed has not taken hold yet. Now, it's usually in time for the two bowl games, but not when you have so many other things going on the field. So that actually makes sense, Eddie. I remember that time at the old Jack Murphy in Qualcomm when the grass wasn't always spectacular, but they also didn't have as many events going on.
Yeah, well, they also had big dirt cutouts for the infield that John Carney would sometimes have to kick off of, right? I mean, things were quite different.
At the good old Q.
Back at the Q. Back in the day, back at the Q. I miss it.
I do.
I mean, now that we've got a stadium there, it's good.
Oh, yeah.
Because it just, the whole idea that we were going to not have a stadium in Mission Valley was wild to me. That was the whole thing about the Prop C that I never got. Like, you've got an obvious place that's perfect in our city for a stadium. How about right where the 8 and the 15 are right there?
Sometimes I see old
805.
Twitter accounts, like the old baseball stadiums or old football stadiums or whatever. They'll pop up a picture of Jack Murphy or the Q.
Yeah.
Like an aerial photo or a photo, the iconic one of the fireworks going up and, everybody packed inside of it. And I'm like, she really was a beautiful thing for her time. Her little, what do you call the concourses, the
spiral,
Yes, she was
walkways.
old, but for her day, she was like revolutionary. She was something,
I think pre the Charger renovation, it was a really good stadium, and then remember the adding of the club seats and whatnot. Not that the club seats are bad, but the whole Spanization of the place took a little bit of a step back, and then they just let it go to hell to try and force the issue.
Stopped renovating it, and that hurt. Yeah,
they
hurt her. She needed a little facelift. Okay, it happens.
Need a little time.
Yeah,
I agree with Adam Paul in the chat. If the stadium had been kept up, it would have still been great.
Yeah,
Just like Arrowhead.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of old stadiums that they keep up because the owners keep it up.
Difference is they didn't because they wanted to force the hand of the city, and then it all didn't work out. You know what did work out? Asking people to call. Go ahead and hit the bumper. Eight 833-288-0973. That is the number to use. Mike in Claremont, he heard me give the number. He heard me tell him that he only had a couple minutes. And then he called. And here he is. Hi, Mike. You're on the air. Ask us anything.
Okay, I'm going to ask you something. Mark Grant, our broadcaster, his nickname is Mud.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know of anybody in the Padres history who had a similar nickname?
As Mud?
Yeah,
I don't.
similar to that. Padre from the past.
Okay,
He went on to the major leagues.
Yeah, give us the answer. I'm not sure.
Jim Mudcat Grant.
Jim Mudcat Grant. Okay, all right. I was like, are you going for Mudcat? Because, right, that's what Mud is short for, is
Right.
Mudcat. Yeah, Jim Mudcat Grant. He was a Padre at one
There you
point?
go. Pardon me? He did. Back when we were the Cleveland Indians farm team.
Okay, so back in the minor league days of the San Diego
Yeah.
Padres,
Oh,
playing at Westgate Park.
I should have said that. How about Lane Field?
Lane Field, there you go. Wow.
That is a great
Back in
fun
the
fact, though.
Back in the 50s.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Mike.
That's good stuff, Mike.
Good trivia question. Appreciate
Very
you, brother.
good trivia question.
Thanks for calling in. Jim Mudcat Grant.
I love that. It was a Padre in the minors.
Here's Martin in Santee. Hello, Martin. Welcome to the show again. Ask us anything.
Question: is there any possible way that the MLS team contractually could get out of the agreement with San Diego if the field conditions are as poor as they are? Do you know?
I don't believe so, Martin. I think they're contracted to their lease to the stadium. But here's what I believe is going to happen, Martin, is that the field at some point in 2025 will not be up to snuff, and they will raise holy hell and start talking about you make changes or we start talking about other things, saber rattling,
Wow.
Stadium initiatives, funding, sites, North County, Midway, Chula Vista. We'll be right back in the same old thing.
Yes.
And I don't want to see that happen, man. I want to see them fix the field.
Yes, agreed. And bring MLS. So very exciting. Great show as always.
Thanks for calling.
Appreciate you, Martin.
Of course.
Thanks to both of you guys for helping us clear the last 5 minutes of the program. Definitely appreciate all y'all. If you haven't had a chance to go to your polling place, or if you've had your ballot sitting on your kitchen table for the last couple of weeks, hey, it's going to take you 5 minutes. It's going to take you 5 minutes to fill it out, and it's going to take you a few more to go to a polling place. There's one in your neighborhood, guaranteed. Let's all be good citizens today. No matter how you shake out on these things, it's something special about being American is the opportunity to vote, and let's keep that rolling.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I'm glad all of us in this room voted before today. Always love getting a little sticker. I've got my little sticker at home. I remember my mom used to come home with the sticker all the time, and I think it was the coolest thing. So go get your sticker.
Go get your sticker.
Yes.
Put the fries in the bag.
And be safe out there, everybody. Just have a good night.
Well, it's a pretty easy show to 5 minutes to vote. You look at you fill in the circles, and then you fold it up, and you put it in the...
Yeah, come prepared.
Put in the thing. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Like a Scantron.
We'll be back tomorrow. 4 hours of live local San Diego sports talk radio. We'll be talking sports.